Good morning, everybody. What's going on this Saturday morning? Look at you there, Bria. I see you. Got Darren in the house. Hey, hey,
Hi.
hey. How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Morning, everybody. Morning, everybody. So first of all, we
Morning.
have the weather report here in Ohio. There's snow on the ground.
What? Get
Yeah,
out of
Oh,
here.
wow.
Get out of here,
I
man.
know that.
there's snow.
Snow.
It is snowing. Yes, there's snow on the
Man,
ground, and it's
see,
falling out of the sky. Yeah, and it's April 9th. April
man,
9th.
that's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm right here in this, bipolar Texas weather, but it don't snow like in April. So
We
wow.
have Bria with us. Bria's on camera. Morning, Bria.
I wasn't supposed to be. I must have forgotten to remove myself, but hi, everyone.
Hello.
It's always a pleasure. I'm so happy to be here every Saturday. Feels good.
Joe's got some snow in
Oh, snow in
Michigan.
Hi,
Michigan
Joe.
also, huh? Hey, Joe. Now this is crazy. So we've had like 30-mile-per-hour winds down here, right? 30, 40-mile-per-hour winds. Like bright and sunny day. I put these 2 flower pots on my patio last year, and I was waiting for my wife to get plants for them, right? And so I'm like, oh, she'll get the plants. I'm not going to because I tend to overstep and just start doing stuff on my own, right? So they were empty all year. So this year I said, I want to go put some plants in there. So I put these plants in there, right? The other day I come home from work. Well, no, she gets up yesterday morning. She said the plants were flipped over. She said those doggone dogs flipped the plants over. So I picked them up that day after work, put them in the pot, and I noticed after I put all the dirt in, one plant was like completely gone, like branches. I mean, this was like a plant about a foot tall. The branches, everything was gone. So the other one was sitting there. So I took the dogs out for a walk. 30 minutes. I come back. The pot's knocked over. The dirt's all on the ground. And the plant's gone. So I'm like, what the heck just
It's
ate
not
my
the
plant?
dogs. You blame
It's
the
not
dogs.
the dog. I blame the
You blame the
dogs.
dogs. They felt bad.
Something is
You
snatching my
punish them
plants.
dogs for that.
Oh, you don't know what it is yet.
I don't even know what it is. I'm thinking what kind of monster came over? I could
wind?
just see a little animal
It's
on his
not the
hind
wind?
legs, grabbing it with his hand and just yanking it out and just walking and crawl up under the fence. I'm like,
a groundhog or something.
so I gotta get a camera to see what the heck, because I'm glad they were cheap plants, man. They were only like $11.
Scary.
But
It's
they were
not the
tall.
wind, though?
They were like bushes, like these plant bushes, or whatever.
Oh.
What's that now?
So I hope
It
something
wasn't the
scary.
wind then.
I don't know why.
No, because you see
terrible.
scatter branches on the little leaves on the ground.
Okay.
But the whole plant is missing. I couldn't find it. I'm like, what did the dogs do? Did they eat it? What happened?
Oh.
But I had them on a walk this time, and I came back home, and the plant's gone.
I know
Pots flipped over. I'm like, oh God, I got a monster in my backyard eating plants.
Thank you, Joe. Joe's so happy.
Oh yeah, that's right. The birthday girl there.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So just so people know a little bit, we're gonna do a different format.
Bria had a birthday this week, so
let's sing happy birthday.
You don't have to.
Yeah, let's go do it, Darren. Let's ready. On your account. On your account.
All
go
right.
ahead.
1, 2, 3. Happy
birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Bria. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Did you like
Beautiful voices this morning.
the delay there?
See, Darren is the singer in the group. I'm not a singer. Darren's the singer.
That was nice. Thank you so much.
So, you're very welcome.
We won't ask how old you are. You're like 23 or something.
27.
Something like that.
Was it that?
I can't remember.
I'm your daughter.
I said, I don't mean I remember everybody's age.
There's only 2 of us.
Yeah.
Did I guess it right? How old are you?
27.
I knew it was
27.
I knew it was 26 or 27. I knew it was one of the 2.
Okay.
27.
So just let people know.
27. 27 is a good age.
Yeah.
Good age.
Yeah. It's
James. Look at this one. This was a funny
one.
I'm happy to be alive. Oh, James called you out on the singing.
I told you I can't sing. Darren's a better singer than me.
Thank you. Also, thank you. And my husband thought he was 35. He's 34.
Wow.
Check my birth certificate. I might be 26.
He's losing his memory young there, isn't he?
That's funny.
But as people
I don't
can see,
understand what she's saying. Who was 35?
Her husband.
her husband.
Her husband thought he was 35, but he was.
Oh, he forgot his own age. I get it.
I forgot it was my birthday. I
forgot.
Wow.
I did. As I said, we've been having my kids are sick, guys, so we've been having a hard week. But when my mom called me and said, "Happy birthday," it was like 6 in the morning, and I'm just like, I thought something was wrong. She called at 6 in the morning. I'm like, what's wrong?
Yeah, that's what I would think. My mom calls me at 6 in the morning. I'm thinking,
Odd
oh
hour.
no, what happened to Dad?
Right.
I was just like, what's wrong? She's like, happy birthday. I'm like, that's right. It is April 7th. That is the day I was born. Yeah, that's what happens when you get kids and responsibilities and all that stuff. Kind of your birthday kind of just flies out somewhere. But yeah, new format on the show.
Well, I have no advice for you. None.
No one does.
You got to figure it out for yourself. Yeah. I'm just kidding. We'll say that for offline. Yeah. Anyways, you were saying, LaMarr, new format. We got a new format.
I just want people to know that a lot of times they will join the show late, and we might have talked about topics that we'll post them in our banners, like in our email or our Facebook post. It may show the topic sometime, but a person gets on, they kind of like, wow, I missed that topic. So I want to let you all know that you can join in with your comments on any topics throughout the day. So at the bottom, we have all the topics on a ticker at the bottom. So that doesn't, because you join in an hour and a half later than the show started, doesn't mean you can't bring up one of these topics. It doesn't matter, So we're going to just roll through. We're going to start off with throwing out clips and go back to back with them. And we can comment a little bit in between, but we want to get all the clips through so people can see the points that we're trying to address. And then, we can just discuss this throughout the day. I'm just trying a different format because I feel that people will get on there and we've already discussed the topic and they may click off. So I want to just keep people more engaged. And I want you all to get involved too. Put your comments in there. If you have either some more information to the story, add it to the story. If we're incomplete on a story, finish it up for us. We don't mind. This is a group conversation. And it's not like, we are like skilled journalists. We're not. We're commentators. I don't claim to be a journalist, a news reporter. I'm a commentator. I comment on what's happening. Hey, what's going on, Mark? So I'd like you all to just join in with us on this and see how you like it. But I want to just give you all a taste of everything that's going on. And also, by the way, this also helps those who have to leave early. They can see what the topics are and they can join in on any of those topics. So, Bria, you can start. I'm not sure we haven't been in any order, Darren.
And if there's something that you'd like to talk about, we could talk about it too.
Yes, that too as well. Just let us know and we'll find a clip. We'll find a tweet. We'll find whatever you got out there. We'll find it and put it up there for you. We'll do our best. Say it that way.
Let's show this vote that happened this week. History was made.
Okay. Way to go with that new format. It's not planned?
Senate, this should be the first one down there.
If there are no further comments on favorably reporting the nomination of Ketanji Brown Jackson to be Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Leahy.
Aye.
Mrs. Feinstein.
Aye.
Mr. Whitehouse.
Aye.
Ms. Klobuchar.
Aye.
Mr. Coons.
Aye.
Mr. Blumenthal.
Aye.
Ms. Hirono. Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Padilla.
Aye.
Mr. Ossoff.
Aye.
Mr. Grassley. Mr. Graham.
No.
Mr. Cornyn.
No.
Mr. Lee.
No.
Mr. Cruz.
No.
Mr. Sass.
No.
Mr. Hawley.
No.
Mr. Cotton.
No vote proxy.
Mr. Kennedy.
No.
Mr. Tillis.
No vote proxy.
Mrs. Blackburn. Mr. Chair Durbin.
Aye.
Chair Durbin, the votes are 11 yeas, 11 nays. It's a tie vote.
The committee has recorded a tie vote on Judge Jackson's nomination to be the Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. Pursuant to Section 3, Subsection 1A of Senate Resolution 27 of the 117th Congress, I'll transmit to the Secretary of the Senate a notice of this tie vote.
Okay, so that was the Judiciary Committee vote, which was tied 11-11, which means that it does go to the Senate. And then I think we have a clip where the Senate does vote to confirm her. And you had Vice President Harris making that announcement.
You have that one? I know I got the walkout there as well.
But we don't have that. Let's look at this one here, the walkout. So, but this was at the end when the entire Senate voted, and you saw that some of the Republican senators were walking out as everyone was applauding that, and that we're going to talk a lot about this because we all have something to say about that. So that happened this week.
Yeah.
Next, we have a woman that's scheduled to be executed. Is it Oklahoma? No, it's in Texas.
Here in Texas. Yeah.
The Melissa Lucio. Let's look at this topic here.
Melissa Lucio is set to be executed in 20 days for killing her 2-year-old daughter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Cynthia Seguerra.
And I'm Chris Lawrence. Lucio's case goes back 15 years, but it's still getting a lot of attention with the rally just getting underway at Dallas City Hall. Damon Fernandez joins us live downtown. There seems to be a growing effort to stop this execution.
Yeah, hey there, Chris. You know, this group standing behind me here at Dallas City Hall says it's gathering here to raise awareness. They know unless they can change some minds over the next 20 days, Melissa Lucio could be the first Latina to be executed in this state. As time runs out for Melissa Lucio, who's sitting on death row in Texas,
my mom has no life in her no more.
The protests and pushes for clemency continue ramping up across the state of Texas.
Melissa Lucio's story really highlights the potential injustice in our criminal justice system.
Representative Victoria Niave Criado was among a bipartisan group of state lawmakers who visited Lucio in prison this week. They have serious doubts about the evidence and Lucio's conviction.
She's been a lifetime survivor of domestic violence, a lifetime survivor of sexual abuse, and the situation and facts in this case are so overwhelming, pointing to her innocence.
Melissa Lucio was convicted in the death of her 2-year-old daughter Mariah in Harlingen back in 2008. Prosecutors say the little girl was severely beaten to death, but Lucio's attorneys say Mariah died after she fell down a flight of stairs. They say their witnesses were not allowed to testify during the trial, including an eyewitness who saw her fall.
It's less than a month.
Lucio's family is remaining optimistic as the April 27th execution date approaches. They're hoping the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles will grant a reprieve or clemency.
Knowing that we have supporters that support the death penalty, fighting for my mother is strong.
While critics continue pointing to the evidence of abuse uncovered during the initial trial, supporters, including celebrities, are also taking interest in Lucio's case and call for clemency.
The real potential injustice here is that if we get to April 27th and she's not given that opportunity, it's going to be too late.
And back out here at Dallas City Hall, the organizers and supporters say they are encouraging every resident to write letters to Governor Abbott and to the Board of Pardons and Paroles as they continue rallies like this across the state. In Dallas, I'm Damon Fernandez.
All right, Damon, thank you. According to the Nonpartisan Death Penalty Information Center, executing women is quite rare. Since the Supreme Court allowed the death penalty to resume in 1976, there have only been 17 documented cases. But Texas has executed 6 women, the most of any state in the country.
Well, very interesting case. That does a good job of giving us a synopsis of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of feelings about that one. So,
well, tell me, what are some? No, we'll come back to it. But yeah, I have a lot of feelings too. I know we're not going to get to this long dialogue right now, but let's bring it back up. That is shocking and it hurts. It hurts.
The NFL, more information about the NFL and their coaching.
This
the owners
by storm, man.
What's that?
This one took me back because I was like, wow. This video you about to play, man.
We have this audio recording here of Mike Mularkey being interviewed on a podcast. Let's hear this.
Your coaching career that you might have done differently or changed?
That's a good question.
I'll tell you guys this. I've always prided myself in doing the right thing in this business, and I can't say that's true about everybody in this business. It's a very cutthroat business, and a lot of guys will tell you that. But I allowed myself at one point when I was in Tennessee to get caught up in something I regret, and I still regret it. But the ownership there, Amy Adams Strunk and her family, came in and told me I was going to be the head coach in 2016 before they went through the Rooney Rule. And so I sat there knowing I was the head coach in 16 as they went through this fake hiring process, knowing a lot of the coaches that they were interviewing, knowing how much they prepared to go through those interviews, knowing that everything they could do, and they had no chance of getting that job. And actually the GM, John Robinson, he was in on the interview with me. He had no idea why he's interviewing me, that I have the job already. And I feel, I regret that's because I pride myself in my kids first, that they do the right thing. And I always said that to the players. And here I am, the head guy, not doing it. And I've regretted that since then. It was a wrong thing to do. I'm sorry I did that. But it was not the way to go about it. Should have interviewed like everybody else and got hired because of the interview, not early on. So that's probably my biggest regret.
Wow, that's a touching story, and appreciate you sharing that with us. It's
not hard. It's not hard to do the right thing. It's really not. You can get caught up in this business.
That was deep.
Transparent.
That was deep. That was deep, man.
Talk about accountability.
Yeah, I mean, my respect for Malarkey went up like times 10 from that interview.
From admitting that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was like throwing it out on the table. But what we got next there, Bree?
Okay, we have
Title 42.
Oh yeah, so U.S. we're bracing for migrant influx now that the Trump administration's blunder up. You'll see. I'm gonna press play.
Well, on America's southern border, federal agents are bracing for a surge of immigrants seeking asylum. That's because the CDC is ending a Trump-era public health policy known as Title 42, which was used to block nearly 2 million immigrants from entering the U.S. during the pandemic. CBS's Manuel Bojorquez reports tonight from the border near Tijuana.
This family is on the run.
36 people total, 36 personas total de una familia.
They say their success as avocado farmers has made them a target for extortionists back home in Michoacan, considered one of Mexico's most dangerous states. They're now at a migrant shelter in Tijuana, but say the threats keep coming over the phone.
You'll pay the consequences. Si no cooperan, if you don't cooperate.
They fled from their farm 7 months ago, but a controversial pandemic border policy known as Title 42 has put their legal right to apply for asylum on hold. The one notable exception to Title 42 are refugees from war-torn Ukraine entering the U.S. through the southern border after a few days here.
So they said no asylum, no asilo, y no ayuda. They couldn't help you. That it was closed.
Some Democrats have joined Republicans in cautioning against what they consider a rushed end to the policy. Both Arizona senators, Democrats Kyrsten Sinema and Mark Kelly, released a joint statement, Kelly calling it the wrong decision, and Sinema saying the move shows a lack of understanding about the crisis at our border. The White House, bracing for tens of thousands more migrants applying for asylum in the coming weeks, is sending additional resources to the border.
It's not an immigration, migration enforcement measure, and the decision on when to lift Title 42 was made by the CDC.
Have more calls come in since the Biden administration said we're going to do away with Title 42?
The phone don't stop.
But even before the announcement was made, Pastor Albert Rivera, who runs the migrant shelter, was already building an expansion to eventually house 1,200 asylum seekers.
Some of them been waiting a year and a half for a permit just to come to the border here because they want to apply, do it legally.
Seeking asylum in the U.S. is a legal right, but with ports of entry not processing most asylum seekers due to Title 42, some say they have no option but to cross illegally to try to make their claim. Nora?
Manny Bojorquez on the border, thank you.
Many dots.
Yeah.
So we see that 100,000 Ukraine refugees welcomed in, and yet there's business as usual for people of color.
And it's not that they're just coming they're not just coming here to just come to America. They're seeking asylum just like the Ukrainians. But on top of that, they own an avocado farm. They can add value to our economy by restarting their business here. Why are avocados in America there's
they don't care about that.
An article about the popularity of avocados growing in the United States. That would be such my mind is
The system doesn't care, Bria.
I mean, we're talking about adding, value to our country, and we're a melting pot. We value diversity. I don't understand.
No, we're not, though. We're not.
A whole family,
Not anymore.
a whole family of entrepreneurs moving into the
Right.
United States, and you want to keep them because they're Mexicans. That's crazy. Okay.
It's a tough one, but we're gonna continue on with the Ukraine situation. What's the next one?
Sorry.
No,
We
it's
have
good.
a train
Good.
station that was bombed by a Russian missile.
Yeah, this is just shows a couple of seconds of what that cloud looked like after the explosion. It's only a couple of seconds.
Wow.
I can't imagine being somewhere where I call home and something hits a building or the place next to me where I'm like, wow, that could have been me. Do I stay now or do I leave? Do I fight? What do I do? That's the confusion with some of these people in Ukraine right now. Lost.
Yeah, some of the images that we saw this week have been horrible. That came out last
Yeah.
weekend about there was bodies in the street and things like that. I
Yeah.
don't know if you saw that. I'm
I
sure some of
did.
you out there did.
Yeah.
And just horrific stuff, just terrible. And I had to cut myself off from a lot of Ukraine news
Yeah.
recently because it's just so depressing.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
All right. And now
So we have an interview with a woman by Nicole Hannah Jones that's very interesting, and we're going to play that for you here.
What's your response when people say that you're saying the country's racist and that this is a central part and making them, the kids, feel bad about it? Are you saying parents are wrong?
Yes. I think that I don't know how one can argue we were not founded as a racist country. I believe that we were. I believe that the record is clear. If you're founded as a country where Black people, because they are Black, don't have rights, don't have freedom, if you have a Supreme Court that's dominated by enslavers, 10 of the first 12 presidents dominated by enslavers, our founding fathers dominated by enslavers, if you have these things, the father of the Constitution was an enslaver. The drafter of the Declaration was an enslaver of the Bill of Rights. So to argue that people who were explicitly white supremacists in their writings, I mean, the notes on the state of Virginia says Black people are inferior as a race, that is a racist foundation. This is just a factual rendering to me. Now, does that mean that most white Americans are racist? The project doesn't argue that.
But she just comes out and says it. Are parents wrong? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you catch
we're all parents.
He first said "be." I mean, them, us, and then them.
Because as much as I like him, your bias. It's not even a bias. I think it's just you're them. You are the us. So I mean, you didn't say it wrong. I think he just had a hard time. Maybe he partially agreed with the other side too of the argument.
Yeah.
Well, I think he was
He's always a fair
shocked at her candor, I think. And I think that I like what she says, that I'm a parent. I have no problem believing that I'm wrong. I'm not an expert on every topic. And this brings us to our next topic about, we have these laws being proposed and passed, like we see in Florida most notably, and it's all about parental rights, right? That's what the GOP's position is that this is about parental rights and not having your kids, whatever, fill in the blank, right? But sometimes parents are wrong.
Yeah.
Parents are wrong. I can't teach my kid English composition. I'm not an expert in that. So I'm glad that my kids go to school and they can learn from somebody who is trained on certain things. So I'm just going to, we have I just want to show this video. We're not going to play all of it here, but this is from a gentleman, the gentleman being interviewed. I've heard a few things from him this week, and I'm just kind of impressed with the way he explains things. And this is in regards to the Florida law, the so-called don't say gay bill. So
okay.
Florida's so-called Don't Say Gay bill is now the law of the land in the Sunshine State. Joining me now to discuss the law's impact on LGBTQ plus youth and teachers in the classroom, Brandon Wolf. He is the press secretary for Equality Florida, also a Pulse nightclub survivor. Brandon, thanks for being with us. Florida Republicans seem to have revived the anti-gay culture wars of the 90s. What do you make of them using LGBTQ plus youth as a political weapon?
Well, thanks so much for having me. And you're absolutely right that this is age-old bigotry. It's campaign rhetoric masquerading as law. And the unfortunate thing about, what we're seeing in the state of Florida is that it's targeting the most marginalized people. Think about for a second that we have teenagers, high school kids, who are now being harassed online by troll armies of Governor Ron DeSantis because he knew exactly what he was doing when he sent his press secretary out into the world to use age-old bigoted tropes, calling us, pedophiles or groomers because we don't support the erasure of LGBTQ families from classrooms. And, consider also that these sort of bigoted attacks are the same ones that have been used across the country. It was 2004 when I was in high school that my home state of Oregon banned same-sex marriage by constitutional amendment. And when I came out just a couple years later, it was the same kind of rhetoric being used to beat me down, to justify discrimination and violence against me. I was called horrible things, told that I was contagious, that I was turning people gay in my classes. This is the same old bigoted trick that's just drenched in a 2022 coat of paint. It's unfortunate that our cynical politicians like DeSantis, who could be working on things that Floridians are actually passionate about, the things that are impacting them, are instead just force-feeding us this buffet of culture war issues, the buffet of bigotry, I call it, in an effort to win future election cycles.
You referenced this, but the governor's spokesperson also tweeted that anyone against the bill is, quote, probably a groomer. Just explain why that language is so dangerous.
Well, since the dawn of time, people have said that LGBTQ people, simply by existing, are a threat to children. That same excuse was used to justify taking our children away from us. Here in the state of Florida, there was a lesbian woman who had her child taken away. That child was then given back to her ex-husband, who had just gotten out of jail after murdering his first wife. That same bigoted trope has been used to block us from getting married. It's been used to try to block us from being teachers. It's been used to try to block people from using the bathroom. It's this insinuation or idea that to be LGBTQ is somehow to be scandalous or somehow a threat to young people, when in reality, LGBTQ people are normal. We're a healthy part of society. We're your doctors, we're your neighbors, we're your family members. And by the way, we're also your children. There are LGBTQ young people in these classrooms right now who deserve a state that sees them, that affirms them, and helps them be the best version of themselves, not one that muzzles their teachers, that rips books about them off the shelves and tells them that there's something fundamentally wrong with them.
Brandon,
I cannot say it any better than Brandon Wolf said that.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's like the bill puts in, like we were talking earlier about, like almost like the freedom of speech now is being threatened, but it's from one side. It's like from from one perspective, from one side of the story, or one a partisan attempt to freedom of speech or just freedom of life.
There's a lot of issues in regards to this. Freedom of speech is one of them. Ohio has a proposal bill in the Ohio House, modeled after Florida's law. So there's a lot to dissect with this. And yet, Mark mentions the political ads that we're seeing in the midterm. Some of them are just, some of them are pretty out there.
Yeah,
I just got to say that. Finally, we have Senator Hawley, and I'm not sure what this is about. So help us out here.
It was on the floor of the Senate. Brian, I can't get his name right now. He's another senator who basically, Hawley came out and attacked him first, or attacked Democrats on policies and things like that. And this other Democrat senator came out and just showed all the hypocrisy of Senator Hawley, and the things that he was saying, just countered everything he said. It was like he just ripped him up, in my opinion, and then he said, I'm done. He just sat down. it was just one of those moments, because Senator Hawley's the same one who did all the crazy stuff talking to Justice Ketanji Brown about Brown Jackson in regards to I think it was he's one talking about the porn stuff, about her, the way she's sentenced, convicted child pornography. And the thing about it is that he didn't even know their own laws, that Congress is the one who create these laws, create these sentences, and she just follows them.
Yes.
And, she goes off of their recommendation, but it just shows how he's an idiot, in my opinion. He needs his butt kicked.
He could have brought his floor charts out here and given a withering speech about all of the things that he thought went wrong. But he's doing a very specific thing. He is damaging the Department of Defense. We have senior DOD leaders. We have the Armed Services Committee coming to us and saying, I don't know what to tell him. I don't know how to satisfy him, but he is blocking the staffing of the senior leadership at the Department of Defense. And this comes from a guy who raised his fist in solidarity with the insurrectionists. And this comes from a guy who, before the Russian invasion, suggested that maybe it would be wise for Zelensky to make a few concessions about Ukraine and their willingness to join NATO. This comes from a guy who just about a month ago voted against Ukraine aid. He's saying it's going too slow. He voted no. He voted no on Ukraine aid, and now he has the gall to say it's going too slow. And this final insult is that until, Secretary Austin resigns? That's not a serious request. People used to come to me during the Trump administration all the time. Do you think Trump should resign? Do you think Tillerson should resign? That's a stupid, of course, I think all the people I disagree with should quit their jobs and be replaced with people I love. Of course, I think they should all resign. That's not how this world works. That is not a reasonable request from a United States senator, that until the Secretary of Defense quits his job, I'm going to block all of his nominees. That's preposterous. And coming from a person who exonerated Donald Trump for extorting Zelensky for withholding lethal aid. They withheld lethal aid unless Zelensky would release false smears against Joe Biden's son. And then he voted to exonerate President Trump for this. And so spare me the new solidarity with the Ukrainians and with the free world, because this man's record is exactly the opposite.
The Republicans cannot stop hitting themselves with the door, with the revolving door, spinning different directions fast enough in regards to Russia, Ukraine, in regards to a lot of things.
Well, this goes back also to Gates' interaction with Defense Secretary Austin. They're going back and forth. Like, they're trying to say the United States aren't doing enough, aren't doing this. And Ukraine is getting bombed because we're our lack of. And the Defense Secretary Austin is saying, well, why do you think they're sustaining now? Is because of NATO and the help that we contribute to this.
Yep.
So when Hawley says that, he needs to resign, I'm like, what are you talking about? That's ridiculous.
There's a lot of truth there. I mean, he's not going to resign.
No.
So do something that's going to make a difference that's realistic.
Yeah, definitely.
It reminds me of how Lindsey Graham voted for Judge Brown Jackson when she was appointed to be a federal judge, first of all, in D.C., and then now votes against her, makes public statements against her, walks out of the process.
Yeah.
And there was just a lot of pivoting back to our first topic. Judge Brown Jackson, how we saw the lack of respect for her, and how we saw a lot of GOP senators coming in with, they're not wearing ties or suits, and they're just kind of not taking this seriously. And there was just a lack of respect. There was just a lack of respect there. And the vote was the closest in the recent Supreme Court justice votes that we have had, and she's probably the most qualified of these people. John Roberts in 2005 had. I'm looking at it. It's 78 votes for. Samuel Alito had 54 votes. 4 Democrats voted for him. This was during the Bush administration. Sonia Sotomayor, who was appointed by Obama, had only 31 nays. Elena Kagan in 2010 had only 37 nays. And yet this one had 47 nay votes.
Yeah.
And you have to go all the way back to Clarence Thomas, who had the scandal. And even 11 Democrats in 1991 voted for Clarence Thomas, the infamous Clarence Thomas.
You look at it with Ketanji Brown Jackson. They all have complimented her and said she was well qualified for the position.
There's a video.
Yeah, but they can't even justify why they're voting against. They can't even justify it. None of them can say why they're voting against. They always say, I'm not voting for it, but they can never say why. It's not really, it's like, do you have your views may be different, but how do you get on her? I mean, not vote for her just looking at her record, looking at her character, her integrity in the court system. There's nothing that you can say she's not qualified for the job. Because you have partisan views that are different, doesn't account for the law. The law is the law. You got to judge off of that. No different than that judge who ruled with Kyle Rittenhouse. He went by the law, which everyone had to accept, which people didn't agree with. But what I'm saying is he had to run by the law. And so same thing with Ketanji Jackson. She's going to do her job. I don't think she's going to get caught up in any of this craziness, this partisan back and forth garbage, like some of these other justices have done already, like Clarence Thomas, who would not vote against Donald Trump being impeached, or that the not just that, he voted to keep the committee from being developed going forward. They went to the Supreme Court. He voted against that committee. And now look, his wife's involved. That's an integrity issue, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is.
And so she's not going to get caught up in all that stuff. He knew this from the time he got married to this woman. He knew what she was caught up in. Yeah. So you went into your seat.
He doesn't care, I don't think.
Yeah, but you go into a position on your seat. You get voted in on your seat with people knowing your dirt already. This is not even talking about Anita Hill. This is just about character and integrity issues. You get a seat on the bench as a justice in our country, and you got this integrity stuff hanging over your head that was kept secret for all these years. But the people who voted him in knew some of this stuff. So the same thing coming with Ketanji Jackson Brown. You can't say that. Well, now Justice Ketanji Jackson Brown Jackson, you can't even say that about her. And they can't even think of anything. They can't bring up one thing to say why she shouldn't be in the seat. But yet 47 voted against it.
Yep.
I'm just showing you the way our country is really going right now. It's ugly.
And more partisan than ever. Yeah. I'm looking at some of the more recent on the Trump nominations. Justice Gorsuch. Sorry, I mispronounced his name. Was 11-9 in the Judiciary Committee. The Senate voted for him. Some things are harder to find online than others. Yeah. So I'll get that information as far as like how many votes were yay for him in the Senate.
No, Mark is talking about some things in Ohio. He's like really upset about the political ads. Can't believe this. My phone is ringing.
Mark Kavanaugh.
Mark had
Go ahead.
What was that? I said Mark had this comment that about the political ads in Ohio. hitting the critical race theory. He says it's making his stomach sick every time it pops up.
Yep.
And that's going to be the talking point for the midterm elections in November. That's the talking point, or one of the talking points.
Excuse me. So Kavanaugh was 50 to 48. Kavanaugh was 50 to 48. So that was a closer vote.
I feel that even with, really is it's such a special time to be a part of history. Like I feel like there's so many things that are happening during my lifetime that I lived for. Like I lived through. And it's just an amazing time to be alive where we have the first Black woman on the Supreme Court. It really is. It sucks that these Republicans wanted to take that away from us. It's not just for Black women; it's for our country. It's a statement to our country that we really have made some major strides forward. This is a lifetime appointment.
Yeah.
So
Amy Coney Barrett was 55 to 43. So we recall Kavanaugh with the 50-48. There was the controversy there. So
and why was that so close?
I think that's
partly due to the controversy due to the sexual harassment allegations.
No, he shouldn't have got any votes.
He shouldn't have. There's a sexual.
No, he shouldn't. I'm just saying that it was a closer vote than what we saw with Justice Brown Jackson.
Could you imagine if Justice Brown Jackson had something like that on her sitting on? It wouldn't even have been a discussion. She wouldn't have gotten nominated.
No, absolutely not.
She wouldn't have been one of the top nominees. She wouldn't even been
as much as the Republicans wanted to make the child pornography issues
Marjorie Taylor
front and center. I think that she did a great job in deflecting that and deflecting back to the Senate. And maybe some of those senators didn't like that. Maybe that turned them the wrong way.
I wouldn't even call it deflecting. I would call it her answering the question by giving them this is the policy, this is the protocol. I'm not in a position. She even stated many times, I'm not in a position to comment on that because I'm not a policymaker.
Yeah.
I'm not, she stayed in her lane. What she stated is what she said. And that is absolutely right.
Yeah.
She understands. As a judge, you have to understand where you can comment and where you can't. She was not going to trap herself or trip herself up at all. And I really respect that about her because she stayed in her lane. Like she did what a judge does.
You know what I think is happening in our country now? You see more of people speaking on the fact, just the documented fact of things versus telling how they feel. People in our, I would say more so minorities in our country have always been people to express their feelings all the time. Your feelings doesn't get things changed. It's always about the law, about what's policy, what's written. And that's something that I think they're learning now because you don't have to speak about your feelings anymore. You just, like Nicole Hannah-Jones, you saw in that video earlier, she just gave you some facts. She didn't say anything about how she felt. She said, how can you not think this way if this happened? I think so that makes a difference in your argument. And something that many people should actually use as when they're in a debate about something, stick to the facts of something. Even if it's your side of the facts that's true, stick to that and leave feelings out. Because if Ketanji Brown Jackson, they gave her feelings, they would have put that against her because feelings is not how you rule on a judgment.
They would have said that she has a political bent based on feelings and a policy bent based on feelings. But this is a good quality for a judge that says this is the law, this is what I've been given, and it kind of pushes back on the Republican notion that they're all about checks and balances and all about the different branches of government doing their thing and how they're against activist judges, right? Yeah. But you're right, if she had expressed her feelings, what would they have said? She's an activist judge.
Yeah.
So she actually makes the point that she is a jurist. She is somebody that is in her lane in the judiciary branch, and she's not a partisan.
She even states that she has feelings about these subjects, but because she's a judge, she does not feel she can't express those feelings.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
appropriate.
It's
I
not
like how she
appropriate.
explained it instead of dodging. She didn't dodge the question at all. She said, I
No.
have my feelings, but it's not appropriate for me to share them to the public if I'm going to be serving both sides of the public.
Yeah.
I was impressed by her, and I'm glad that she's going to be in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm
Leanne Reed called those that
Mhm.
didn't applaud. Leanne called them a bunch of
bunch of
babies.
babies, a bunch of babies. I
No, he's
agree.
just walking out. I mean,
Come on.
what's the point? That's just it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
It's
And
disrespectful to
it's-
her, to her family.
not only that, her position. That's one of the most powerful seats in the country,
Mhm.
in the world.
It's the highest court of the
Our
land.
our court system, and like our Supreme Court system, and the laws that we create here, and the laws that we pass, and we judge on, they're kind of reflected around the world. You know,
That's
these
true.
things, people
That is true.
emulate United States policies on some things.
Yes.
And if you don't have someone at the top that's willing to have integrity with what they're doing, it's going to be thrown in your face. Right now, it was so many people that were against Kavanaugh, when he came in, that people in other countries are looking like, how do you put this guy on there with even the accusations, whether they're true or not, that the accusations are there, that it needs to be investigated more. These are people that doesn't even live in the United States are saying this.
Yeah, that's a horrible stain. Like that,
You know?
that was,
Yeah, it's a
that's
stain.
embarrassing.
So you have Clarence Thomas and Kavanaugh on the same side of the bench with the same type of accusations. Now,
Do we forget about these things? Do we forget about these things?
So think about it though. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to be on the bench. What I'm saying is we don't have enough information.
I'll say it. I don't think he deserves to be in the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
And only reason why I say that about that is because his decisions affect our lives.
Right.
That's why I'm opposed to it. If his decision didn't affect our lives, if it didn't matter, the man got to work. I get that, but it's the point of his position on the bench, to where he's at, and we don't have enough. What I'm saying is, there's not enough information there. But
he could be at a lower court.
Excuse me.
I mean, he could be at a lower court. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have a job. I'm just saying he shouldn't be on the Supreme Court.
Exactly, the Supreme Court.
He could be on the
right.
lower
That's
court.
not right. He was already on the lower court. He could have stayed there. And that still brings a bias. That still can bring some bias there.
Yes, it
because he's on
can.
the lower court.
But
what I will say, coming back to Justice Brown Jackson, is that I am so happy that my little girls get to grow up in a world where there is a Black woman on the Supreme Court.
Yes.
I am so excited. I'm so excited for them to learn about this in history, and for me to get, I know there are books coming. I can't wait for the children's books. I'm so excited for this experience.
Yeah.
Oh my
Do you
goodness.
think there would be children dressing up as like Vice President Harris and Judge Brown Jackson for Halloween?
My kids are going to be at Supreme Court. My kids are dressing up this year on Halloween as Justice Brown Jackson of the Supreme Court. Okay, Supreme Court Justice.
I just asked.
Yeah. I felt the same way knowing that Thurgood Marshall was on the seat as we grew up. Thurgood Marshall was there, and it was like to know you have somebody look like you that sits on the Supreme Court. It is a good feeling. And now you have a female there. It's way too late, but
I'll tell you what,
she's there.
There's, for a lot of people, this is a big issue as you're expressing that. This week, a sports talk show spent their whole segment, which is like a half an hour, like they do it every day. Instead of talking about sports, they were talking about this. I don't know if you've seen Brothers from Another. It's a good show, and they talk about some good stuff. And instead of talking about sports, they were talking about this.
Because it's amazing.
important.
This is history, you guys. We've never had a Black woman on the Supreme Court. Honestly, you guys, I'm not even gonna lie. 5-6 years ago, I wouldn't have even thought it was possible.
Really?
Yeah, honestly. I honestly did not.
Because he had a Hispanic woman nominated and placed on it.
But
Big
we're talking about
difference.
Black women. You know, Black
I
women
know. I'm just
are
saying.
thought of to be. I mean, when you think of Black women in positions of power that really matter,
Okay.
Black women have. There's always a stereotype of us that we're over emotional, we're loud,
Really?
we're angry,
Huh.
we yeah. It is just such a. So when I and then add to that the fact that I have not seen representation of myself in
Yeah.
such a high position. The closest would be Michelle Obama, to be honest, First
Yeah.
Lady. And that's kind of what we gravitate to all the time is First Lady Michelle Obama. We want her to run for president. That kind of stuff is what you hear a lot from our community. And it's just like, but for me, this is different. For me, this is someone she worked for this. Not saying we know that First Lady Michelle Obama is obviously worked for all of her achievements, but
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
is the Supreme Court. She worked her way to Harvard. She worked her way to, like, she was a trial judge. She really has all of this experience, and then she has to face this court of these Republican old white men who don't want to see her. Imagine going down in history as Lindsey Graham,
Why?
knowing
Why do
that.
people? I mean this
Imagine
honestly.
that.
I mean this
Oh,
honestly.
that's
To South
nauseating.
Carolina. I know that I don't know if we have anybody from South Carolina.
Yeah.
Why do people vote for him?
This dude took
How
off his.
many how
You
many
know,
times has he been? Has he? eh, Has he? Has he sold himself out? How many times?
Oh my goodness. It's like that TV show. And I don't obviously don't wish any bad things on anyone. But it's like that TV show, any TV show that you watch, it's the one person that keeps surviving. Like, how are they still on the how are they
How
still
yeah.
how is
here?
he still a senator?
Like Mitch
Does
McConnell.
he?
They
He
just
has
make it every season, this person comes back. And you're just like, how are they still here? They are the slimiest people. They're the one of the slimiest people on the planet. Why
well.
is this character still on the
Yeah.
show?
I mean, I don't mean to
Him.
change the subject, but Mitch McConnell at least sometimes has a spine.
No, he doesn't.
Lindsey
No,
Graham
he
Oh,
doesn't.
has none.
He has no spine at all. He
sorry.
has a
Lindsey
spine when it's convenient for him.
Lindsey Graham
Has
will say or do anything for a vote.
and
Did you see?
I
Why
noticed
did this?
that
Did you
during
see how he purposely took off his tie to delay coming into the floor, because you can't come onto the floor without a tie on. I don't know if you knew that. You can't come onto the Senate floor without a suit and a tie. This dude purposely, because he had his tie on, he took his tie off to delay it. Rand Paul delayed it. He had casual clothes on. You know what I'm saying? That's the stuff that doesn't even make sense. That shows a deep-rooted hatred toward people. Deep-rooted. That you will have to do something to that nature to delay a vote.
Throw that in there real quick.
So the vice
No, that's
president.
not going to work.
I know Michelle Obama said she would never run
There's
for
one
president.
thing that won't happen is what that said. I'd vote for it in a heartbeat. If you want things done,
Absolutely.
if you want to be inspired,
wonderful.
if you want to be inspired,
Yeah.
if you want things done, that would be good. But
And
yeah,
to double back on
I'm not.
that,
To be honest, I'm not. I don't know
never
how
saw
much
that
of a
happening
of
either.
a
That's not
Kamala
good.
fan I am, but
You still got to deal with the Senate and the House in that situation. If those were the running mates, if you can have that running mate that could think that you say can get things done, but if you have a Senate like we currently have, it wouldn't get done. Things would
no.
be
I was just
halted.
about. I was just about to mention Ted Cruz was my next person on the list. As
That's
far as like
another bum,
that
man.
is someone who has no spine. McConnell. This is why I say McConnell sometimes does is because he knows how to play the game, and
That gives you spine because you can play a game.
I just think he's a little bit more savvy than Ted Cruz or Lindsey Graham.
That doesn't give you spine.
Doesn't mean that I like. I'm not saying I like him. I'm just saying that he that he's got a little bit more of a stance on things. Anyways,
I want to double back and say this. What I failed to mention when I was talking about this was also Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are. I'm really in a time where I'm really teaching my daughter, like we're living through these things, and I'm teaching my daughter these things at the same time. It's a really, as a mom, I just want to throw this in there again. It is a very fulfilling experience.
Well, this is what Senator Warnock and Senator Booker did. Vice President Kamala Harris gave them both stationery to write letters to their daughters.
Mhm.
You know, they're telling their daughters, you know, this is the first Black woman on the
Mhm.
Supreme Court, and she looks
Mhm.
like you. She has hair
Yeah.
like you. And Cory Booker, you know, the same thing, you know, talking and writing these letters to people that you love, women that you love, to let them know that this is a monumental moment in our country. You know, so that's something that's exciting. So I can see why Bria's excitement there. It's
Oh,
awesome.
it's so
Yeah,
exciting.
you know, so you want to see these type of achievements in our country continue to move forward with positions of power, you know, and it doesn't have to be this bipartisan attack on each, or this partisan attack on each other with
Yep.
everything. Some things just need to be done and just say, you know, this was good for our country.
Yeah.
There's nothing about
Exactly.
this
Yeah,
that's
this
not
is
good for our
great
country.
for our country. This is
At
like,
least,
how
the
can
very
anyone
least,
disagree with how great this is for our country? Like, this
the
is
very least they could have done is to acknowledge the fact that of the historic moment of this.
Yeah.
you don't walk out
Yeah.
of the. How do you walk
Instead they
out?
walk out. So
That right there was just like,
yeah.
come on, guys.
Yeah, that was just
That is so
embarrassing.
un-American. That's un-American.
It
Right.
was
Let's go.
embarrassing.
Let's go to this NFL stuff here.
Yeah.
One last thing. Sorry, guys. Hey, if you're a parent out there and you are interested in, like I always talk about books. There are books, like little leader books on Amazon, and then even walking. If you go into your local Five Below, there's an entire book section, and it will give you books on historical figures and right now, like they're currently printing books right now, where you can get your
What's that company again? What's the website? Or...
But there's Amazon. You can get a lot of books on Amazon. I just always recommend them. But also, there's Five Below. It's a store where
Five
nothing is
Below.
over
Okay.
$5. Nothing in the store is over $5. They have
Oh,
a
the
book section.
store Five Below. Yeah, I know what
Yeah,
that
they
is.
have a book section, and I guarantee you, probably next week, walking in, there's going to be a book about Justice Brown Jackson.
Yeah.
Let the gals take over.
Yes. Yeah, let the
I'm
gals
not-
take over, man. I know.
Here's the thing. I mean, people are like, oh, that white men are concerned about their losing power and status. I'm not, because I think that there's already so many white men in the system that I don't think that that's going to be ever an issue.
And it's the older white men that hold the.
Is that ever going to be an issue in my lifetime?
Not
I
all
don't
older
think
white
so.
men, but a
I don't
lot of
think so.
older
I'm
white
not.
men.
I'm
hold
not
that
afraid. I'm
position
not
of
afraid.
mindset.
And so what? I mean, I think that some of the younger women probably express my views better than somebody my age and older who's white and male and straight.
Well, have you ever
To be
seen
honest.
Finger the Pulse? Finger the Pulse by on us.
Yes,
Comedy
I've seen
Central,
that. Mhm.
right? Okay, yeah. So there was actually this moment where, what is his name? Jordan. What is his name? Jordan Klepper.
Jordan Klepper.
Klepper. Yeah. Okay. So he asks this. He goes to Trump rallies and he asks questions. He
Right.
asks a woman. He says, "So, what?" He asked about Hillary Clinton. He's like, "Well, so why aren't you going to vote for Hillary Clinton?" And he's this has been obviously way back, but she says because women can't rule a country. We're too emotional, and
Yeah, I saw that
wars,
post. I saw that
starting
clip. Yeah.
wars all over the place. And he's
This
like,
is coming
"Well,
from a
isn't it true?"
woman.
Yeah, and he's like, "Isn't it true that all wars have been started by men?" And she's like, "Well, yeah." And it's just like, what are you talking about? I love the way he handles himself.
Well, let's ask the question. Let's say that there's a woman who's the president of Russia.
Mhm.
Do you think a woman would be doing the kinds of shit that's being done in Ukraine? Not to pivot completely in our topics. I don't believe so. To be honest, I trust women more than I trust men.
The truth is,
I think that women are more empathetic. I think that women, in generally speaking, listen better I think that they would be more, in general, more humane leaders. Can you imagine a woman sending a missile to a maternity ward?
No.
Crazy. No, not at all. That
No.
doesn't make
And
sense.
in general,
So I
women
don't have a
have to-
problem with a woman leader. Go ahead.
I can't speak for all women, but I will say as a woman, I understand that at any point we are multitasking at every point. We are constantly considering, and I say multitask, I mean in our brains, we are constantly considering, you know, how things are going to affect other things. And
Yeah.
we just manage very, very well. We manage everything. We have to manage everything. Women are natural managers of everything. So I feel like, you know, when I don't understand. I mean, even in other species, you guys, in other species, the women are very powerful. In other
Yeah.
species, not women, sorry, you guys,
Here's-
females, the females of other species, lions, the females are the hunters. You know, the females they are leaders. They are,
Yeah.
I want to address what Harry says here. A woman could be worse. Yes, a woman could be worse.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm speaking in general. I would trust a woman better. Now,
Well, how?
now obviously,
Well,
there's
how,
people
Harry?
like Marjorie Taylor Greene who are very much Trump plus a couple more, maybe even, because she can express herself better, and that makes her more dangerous. But obviously, there are radical women leaders. Okay.
Can I show you? Go ahead.
But-
I'm sorry.
In general
But
sense,
I
do you
just
think all
cannot-
the wars that have happened would have been if women were in power?
Right.
I don't think so. Think
I'm
about it.
sorry, but it's the truth. It's
It is the truth.
The world is there's around the world there's a patriarchy. There's no way of knowing. You are making assumptions about kindness. Not about kindness. Not at all about kindness. I understand you said
I'm
what did
talking
you
about
say,
in
women are
a
empathetic,
specific
not about
situation.
kindness.
In a specific situation,
About prioritization.
somebody made a decision to bomb a hospital. Okay, we saw that.
But most of the time, that lands
couple
right
weeks
on
ago.
the shoulders of the president, whoever is in charge. And
So, could you imagine a woman giving that order? I can't.
And that's
obviously it's possible.
I'm
Sure,
thinking
anything
this
is possible.
in
I just
Russia,
don't
I
think
believe
that it
he
will
made
happen.
the decision. In Russia, I believe that decision was made. I think that I'm not sure. I've never been in war, so some things, you know, you have targets. You're hitting certain things doing your. I'm not saying the president is on the top of every bombing. I'm not saying that. It's certain calculated things where the president probably is involved, but in the midst of war, I don't know. But in this situation in Russia, I think President Putin has his hand on every target that we've seen where civilians were at. I think he's had his hand on every one of them.
How many women commit mass shootings? I can't.
I want to show you. I'm not going to say
one. Can you
this
think of
is.
one?
Thank you, Leanne.
I have this comment.
I want to just. I'm sorry. So I want to go back to Jordan Klepper. So you're voting against your own interest with when he asked the woman about that. Okay, I just want to.
Well, there's another interview with this woman I thought was the most stupidest comment in the world. And I'm not saying women make stupid comments, so I don't need everybody targeting me and attacking me this week. I'm not saying that. I'm saying this particular woman sounded stupid. You've always heard me say that statement, you know, the most dangerous people in the world are those that are conscientiously stupid and sincerely ignorant. That's my favorite quote from Martin Luther King.
Well, what did she say?
This is a prime example.
Who would you rather have president, Joe Biden or Vladimir Putin?
Oh, Putin. Definitely.
And why is that?
I believe he's been given a tough since World War II. Russia's been the bad guy, when in actuality the Nazis left Germany, and they ended up going to the Ukraine, coming in here. George Bush was actually, thank you. George Bush was actually a Nazi.
I'm sorry.
That was so stupid.
Wait,
you can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up.
George Bush?
Wait, before she got to George Bush, when
After
she said
World
Putin,
War
when
II.
she said she wanted Putin for president,
George Bush
she was
in
canceled
the
after that.
CIA.
Oh man, that was
And it's
hilarious.
not even that
Are you
got me.
talking about
It's
George
another conspiracy
H.W.
that got me.
Bush or George
It
W.
is-
Bush? Which one?
It
are we
don't
talking
matter.
about?
She
It's
sounded.
sympathizing with Russia.
Somebody told her that. She didn't research anything. She
Nothing.
was sincerely stupid
Parroting.
or sincerely
I've
ignorant
never
because
heard
she
30
heard somebody
seconds.
say it.
more like complete
Actually, George Bush
misstatements
was
in 30 seconds. I'm not sure I have.
Yeah.
I was not sure where that was going, but where it went, wow, what a ride. I'm telling you, because that her to say, I knew she wasn't going to say Joe Biden. I just didn't, in my mind, I hadn't really wrap my mind around the other option being Putin. And then she said it.
Yeah.
That's
That's like-
embarrassing.
There's a comment to that.
Joe
Go
brings
ahead.
up North Korea. And I don't know the situation in North Korea. I'm sure that at some point a woman had taken control of North Korea. But where was she formed out of? What kind of milieu, what kind of intellectual things shaped her? Okay. So are you saying that his sister was worse than him?
I'm confused.
I'm
Are you
not
saying-
sure.
I'm
I don't
not
know.
caught up.
I don't know.
Kim
But
Jong-un passed away? Did I miss something?
no.
Is that?
No, we
What's
would have
happening?
heard
What are you
that.
talking
That
about?
was
I don't-
wow. That was back.
This
I
is
think that
back
was
a while.
over.
This is back a while.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
George,
sorry, guys.
George
I
Bush was
honestly
actually
don't know
Nazi. So the
anything. I
most
don't know
moderate Republican we've had in the last 40 years is a Nazi. Again, which one are we
Who did
talking
this?
about?
I'm
George
looking
W.
up.
Bush, I wouldn't say is moderate necessarily. George H.W. Bush would be a moderate.
So
Wait, what was that Mark put up there again? Bring that back. Bring that back.
He's saying that
George
the
Bush was
most
actually a
moderate
Nazi,
Republican we've had in 40 years is a Nazi.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. She heard that from someone else because she's following, misinformation. You could tell everything she said was what she heard, not nothing she knew. She didn't know anything. You could tell. Just her comment was just, she was a parrot for that moment.
Well,
you were saying about NFL you want to bring up.
I'm literally just trying
let's
to
pivot to the NFL here because we have this, this going on with.
Does that?
There's a lot of things going on in the NFL, and here's this specter will continue to haunt the NFL for years, for this decade. I think the Brian Flores thing. I think that this is going to be behind the NFL Shield, and they're going to have to do something more about the hiring processes, not just for head coaches, for general managers and front offices, the whole league over.
Play that video again as you're when you get done, just so people can hear it.
Which one?
No,
To hear
Darren
what
was
we're
saying. I
talking
wanted to play it again after he's done talking.
Okay.
I'm done.
Darren. Okay.
I mean, it's the
Play
one
that
thing
one
I
again, Mike
one thing I wanted
video.
to say about
okay.
one thing I wanted to say about the NFL is that it's becoming harder for me to be a fan of the NFL, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's the Colin Kaepernick thing that happened.
Oh, he got signed, by the way.
To where?
He did?
To the New England Patriots. No, it was a meme going around. It's a meme that's going
Was that
around.
an April Fool's thing?
No, it was something it was a meme that was going around yesterday. Kaepernick to the Patriots.
Anyways, so it's harder for me to be a fan of this. Teams will. There's a lot of skeletons in the NFL closet around the league, and this is one of them. This is one of them. Okay, let's hear that again from Mike Malarkey.
Okay.
Your coaching career that you might have done differently or changed?
That's a good question. I'll tell you guys this. I've always prided myself in doing the right thing in this business, and I can't say that's true about everybody in this business. It's a very cutthroat business, and a lot of guys will tell you that. But I allowed myself at one point when I was in Tennessee to get caught up in something I regret, and I still regret it. But the ownership there, Amy Adams Strunk and her family, came in and told me I was going to be the head coach in 2016 before they went through the Rooney Rule. And so I sat there knowing I was the head coach in 16 as they went through this fake hiring process, knowing a lot of the coaches that they were interviewing, knowing how much they prepared to go through those interviews, knowing that everything they could do, and they had no chance of getting that job. And actually the GM, John Robinson, he was in on the interview with me. He had no idea why he's interviewing me, that I have the job already. And I feel, I regret that's because I pride myself in my kids first, that they do the right thing. And I always said that to the players. And here I am, the head guy, not doing it. And I've regretted that since then. It was a wrong thing to do. I'm sorry I did that. But it was not the way to go about it. I should have interviewed like everybody else and got hired because of the interview, not early on. So that's probably my biggest regret.
Wow, that's a touching story, and appreciate you sharing that with us. It's
not hard. It's not hard to do the right thing. It's really not. You can get caught up in this business.
It's not hard to do the right thing, but it was for him at the time.
Yeah,
5
why-
years ago.
What
6
would have
years ago.
happened? What would have happened if he had spoke out?
Then maybe something would have changed in the NFL. Instead, we had more crap going on.
No. Think about when this happened. Do you think anything would have been done about it? Nothing. Nothing would have been done about it.
Nothing.
Nothing
If
would
you
have
would
been
have
done
said,
about it.
if he came out and said, you know what, let's say he contacted somebody ESPN and broke the story and said that, look, I was set to become the coach of this team, and I happened to know that they had a lot of other interviews scheduled for minority candidates, and yet I already knew I had the job, and I think that's wrong, and I decided not to take this job. I think that would have been a huge story.
Do you think
blown up?
What policy has changed in the NFL before Kaepernick had his situation?
Nothing.
Nothing.
But Kaepernick was 6-7 years ago.
But hear what I'm saying. This was Mike Mularkey's situation was when? When was he coaching the Titans?
Was it 2016 he's talking about?
2016?
That's what he's talking about. Yeah, that's 6 years ago. So
you're right. You're right. Maybe I thought it was before Kaepernick. Because Kaepernick was around the same time.
This is right around the same time.
So Kaepernick was probably still in the league in 2016. He just didn't get hired back on. He was still considered a football player that was in the league. He just didn't get re-signed after that contract with San Francisco. I would have said if Mularkey had this situation that happened like in the last couple of years, like 2017, 2018, he might have had better response. But at that time, there was no policy change. Policy changes didn't come until last year, man. Till last year is when policies really start to change. That's when people start speaking out. If people weren't speaking out before, they would have just wiped up under the rug.
It's a lot easier to speak up now that Brian Flores.
Even before Flores, Hugh Jackson was speaking out. He spoke out before then.
It's a lot easier to do it now. It's a lot easier for Mike Mularkey to say
After
something
Kaepernick,
now,
right?
After the fact,
right? He should have spoke out
it's
then.
not Kaepernick, it's Flores.
No, I agree with you.
After the
I
Flores
asked you.
situation,
I
it's
asked
easy to step
Flores.
up now and say
Flores came out because of Kaepernick. That was one of his standing points. It's in his lawsuit. He mentions Kaepernick in his lawsuit.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think it was because of Kaepernick. Kaepernick happened 6 years ago. Flores just happened.
You don't see any relevance between.
There is a relevance.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's not just because of Kaepernick.
I didn't say it was just because. My first question to you said, I asked you, what policies have changed before Kaepernick? Nothing. You see more change.
I want to address this. Come back to this, Hugh Jackson. But go ahead. Go ahead.
More outspoken. It's been more outspoken about the changes that are needed after Kaepernick was not back in the league anymore. That started a trend of change, is what I'm saying. That started the trend. That started the trend of the conversations. The NFL didn't truly do an about face on some issues until that video came out with those prominent quarterbacks. After that, they had to admit they were wrong. After that, you start seeing the complaint. Whether Hugh Jackson was a bad coach or not, some feel he was done a bad deal with the players.
He was done a bad. I want to come back to Hugh Jackson.
The way that happened, it was a bad deal.
Hugh Jackson was not a bad coach. He was paid to lose.
Not only that, he had no players.
That's what he said. He was paid to lose, and he was given no players.
There was nobody there. When you pick Deshaun Kaiser as your starting quarterback in the draft, you're not trying to win. Deshaun Kaiser hasn't played since. You know what I'm saying? That tells me something right there.
What is he doing now, Hugh Jackson?
Selling. Got his own wine. Got his own. I think it's tequila.
He's the head football coach at Grambling.
Yeah, he is. But why?
So is he a bad coach?
No, I wouldn't say he's a bad.
What did he do before? What did he do before the Browns? What was he?
He was offensive coordinator.
Was he a good offensive coordinator?
One of the best. He's actually was considered one of the best QB coaches in the country.
You're gonna say he's a bad coach because of 2 years as the Browns head coach. The Browns.
This is so interesting.
The Browns, the organization who was a laughingstock for 20 years. and he won 1 game in 2 years, and then he's a bad coach because of that? I don't think so.
Look at the team.
I'm getting emotional.
Yeah, I mean,
Go
when
ahead.
people say Hugh Jackson was a bad coach, I'm not. I mean, that's irrelevant to the fact that he wasn't even given a team to coach. I mean, the players were worse. When Brian Flores said that he was paid to lose, he had some quality players. You know what I'm saying? Hugh Jackson did not. He had Joe Thomas. That was it. That was it.
He was an offensive lineman, by the way.
That's what I'm saying. That's the only good player that he had.
No,
That's
here's
the
what
only
I think.
footballer.
Here's what I think. When Flores was told maybe you should lose, Flores said, "Screw that."
But
Flores
he had
said,
quality
"Screw that."
players.
He almost
but he
made
had
the
players.
playoffs.
But he had players to win with. That's what I'm saying. He had players to
He
win
didn't
with.
have a lot. He doesn't have a lot. There's not a
He
lot.
had more than Hugh Jackson did.
He has more than Hugh Jackson, but
What do you guys think about what Harry said here?
The video example of how hiring in all industries occur. Many people are handpicked for positions or groomed before jobs are even posted. I agree. The difference in the NFL is that they will happen to have a rule. Corporations do this all the time. That doesn't mean that it's fair, but the rule by itself doesn't change culture. I agree. I mean, there's situations where you look at, you're like, well, why is it that the same people being hired? Like, why is it that some people can bring people into the industry or bring recommendations when others can't? I mean, it's a whole bunch of the hiring practices the same way in the NFL. These coaches are recommended by another coach.
Well, I have a
by
question
an owner.
Well, let me come back to it. I want to word it the right way while we're still on this NFL. I don't really know much about football.
No, but Harry makes a point though about industries. You're absolutely right. You could probably pick 10 minority people out of any industry, and they can give you prime examples of exactly that happening. The same exact way. Knowing they don't have the job, finding a reason not to hire them. It's a bunch of BS.
Now,
all the time. Every one of them.
It is.
This is for John.
It is. It is.
We
BS.
know that coaches, I don't know much about football, don't know much about the history of coaches being fired. I got to be real honest with you. But I know that Hugh Jackson will probably never get hired as a coach again. Yeah.
True.
Not in the NFL.
Okay. So, and he's black. Yeah. And they did this knowing what this would do to his reputation. He did agree to it.
Well, do you think Flores would be given a head coaching opportunity?
Yes,
it's a more relevant question.
Though, I wasn't done with my question.
Go ahead.
My question is, do you not see like a racial element to this at all? Where's he working as a coach now? I don't really know.
At a black college, Grambling.
Right. What about
State,
NFL?
And
he's not. He's in
college. NFL, though.
He's a college coach now.
So we're talking about the NFL though. Yes. Do you guys know of any other white coaches that have been fired and then picked up another NFL job based on
yeah,
they had a horrible record?
Oh yeah, all the time.
So for John, do you see a racial element to this at all, or is it just if he's a bad coach?
Of course,
I don't know because
there's a lot of bad coaches that are still coaching.
Okay, I don't know what Joe. What do you mean? What are we talking about? This.
He's talking about the Gruden connection from the Raiders to Washington, and that investigation.
Well, that's the question I have for John. Just because I know sometimes we get. Okay. Well, hey, another show, another time. You know,
He's working as a college coach. There's a big difference. He's working for not even a top tier college. He's working for a historically black college that's not even considered in the top 10, but that same way with Deion Sanders. He's working for Jackson State. So that culture, they're bringing in NFL athletes now into HBCUs to change the way the NFL look at their players because they're not typically selected as high-ranking players. But if you look back, some of our greatest football players came from HBCUs. Jerry Rice is the best wide receiver that ever exists, really.
Some people say he's the best football player.
The best football player, and he came from a HBCU. So, I mean, to say that the players aren't there is garbage, you know.
Well, you don't see a racial element to this at all.
John. The reason why Coach Jackson went to Grambling State because there's been a conversation. That's why Eddie George is at Tennessee State. The same thing. There's been a conversation to bring these athletes. Deion Sanders started a movement to bring quality coaching into the HBCUs because they were so overlooked by the NFL. That's what that's about. I'm sure Hugh Jackson, John, you're mistaking it. Those same white coaches get a job the next year. A lot of times,
I only ask if every show we have the. I
because
see kind of
I
comments.
cannot
He never
count for
asked
you
John why he
how
thinks
many coaches have lost their jobs as
comments
a
that he
head
makes, he
coach,
never asked.
and then
Dude.
that very week they are hired as an assistant in someone
Somewhere.
else's NFL staff.
I can't believe John even came up with that. Give me a coach.
Maybe one person.
Give me a coach that was known as a good.
Norv Turner. How many teams has Norv Turner coached?
Man,
I don't really think
Look
this is
it
a
up.
fair conversation. We should just have John on the show at some point.
He can join right now
Talk
if he
about
wants.
this,
You
because
just send him the link.
we want to hear your thoughts, John. We want to really have a conversation about it. We never ask John when he makes comments. We never ask him for his view, or we never ask him why.
We've had John on the show.
Kind of get mad over his comments and then never get any context. Like
John was on the
He's
show.
driving.
Like
He's
talk
driving.
about it. So let's have you on the
he's,
show.
He's trolling us. It's okay. We like John. I like John.
He said send him a
I like
link.
John.
Send him a link.
Yeah,
I like John.
John, I can't.
We're
I
picking
really
on
can't
John.
believe that he even made those comments.
Wait. Let's not say that, because we're just reading his words. We're not hearing him say what he say. So he wants us to send him a link. Would you guys want to have him on the show?
Yeah, I'm looking for him now. I mean, come on, man. You know better than this, dude. You know better.
But we cannot be unfair. That's why I asked the question. We have to be fair, because we're talking and we're reading comments. You know what I mean? It's not the same. So you can have a conversation with one person typing and we're talking. So let's be fair.
Oh well, I mean, I'll be fair.
I sent you the link. Dwell on this
John,
topic.
you got the
I don't
link.
know if I want to dwell on this topic
Well,
for the rest of the show.
No, the thing about it is that
I don't want to talk about the NFL.
The thing about it is that to say that these coaches, the white coaches, get fired all the time, you're missing the fact they get fired and they get a new job right away.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, a black coach will get fired. It's like 2 or 3 years before they're even an assistant back in the league.
I'm not defending. I'm just moderating.
These are facts.
Leanne, I don't either. Leanne, I'm not good with football.
I want to pivot to the 1619 project.
Anyone other?
That's one of the more interesting interviews that we saw in the videos at the beginning of our show here.
Okay.
Can we skip ahead to that? Or I might jump in the shark on the NFL thing.
I was gonna see if John was gonna get on right quick. If he doesn't,
do you want to go to the video again?
I want to hear it again.
Just to get that energy, that energy.
Yes, I want to hear again. I want to hear again. I want to hear a truth bomb from her.
Okay, let me pull this video up.
What's your response when people say that you're saying the country's racist and that this is a central part and making them, the kids, feel bad about it? Are you saying parents are wrong?
Yes. I think that I don't know how one can argue we were not founded as a racist country. I believe that we were. I believe that the record is clear. If you're founded as a country where Black people, because they are Black, don't have rights, don't have freedom, if you have a Supreme Court that's dominated by enslavers, 10 of the first 12 presidents dominated by enslavers, our founding fathers dominated by enslavers, if you have these things, the father of the Constitution was an enslaver, the drafter of the Declaration was an enslaver of the Bill of Rights. So to argue that people who were explicitly white supremacists in their writings, I mean, the notes on the state of Virginia says Black people are inferior as a race, that is a racist foundation. This is just a factual rendering to me. Now, does that mean that most white Americans are racist? The project doesn't argue that.
Again, we have such a succinct argument right there. Succinct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Harry made a comment
Yes.
going back to the coaching again. The only argument I have with him is that what he's considered toxic now is current. A lot of these coaches, they got fired prior to Brian Flores and Hugh Jackson. That wasn't the case. You've had coaches in there and they were fired and it took them a long time to get rehired again. Romeo Crennel was probably one that's had a couple of different coaching jobs here and there, but he didn't get a coaching
Not
job.
head coaching job. Not head coaching. I don't
Well,
think
he
so.
coached the Vikings. Not was it not? No, that was
Right
that was
after
Green.
he got
That was
fired?
Green. He was with the Browns, but then who did he get?
Mhm.
He was a coach with somewhere else though. He was a head coach somewhere else.
I
gotta
want
look him
to
up.
know what Mark had that he literally had this conversation.
Yeah,
with the
what
coworker. You
conversation
say
do you
what-
have, Mark?
What conversation?
With a coworker. This is such a wonderful subject.
Do you have a quote from the book there, Bria, waiting for us? You pulled it out there.
Oh, it's fine. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to get in a conversation so that I can just pop them out. Let's see here.
No, go ahead and share some wisdom.
Okay, so we had she was talking about how you have slavery, enslavers didn't consider Black people at all, right? In fact, I can't find, there's a section here about the 3/5 of a person, like what slavery is actually talking about a fraction. Because the only reason why we even got 3/5 of a person was for voting.
Yes.
So let's.
Mark's conversation with a coworker was about the racist foundation of the United States.
Oh.
So these things are presented by her as fact. It is a fact that our founding fathers, most of them were slave owners. That our Supreme Court originally were slave. These are facts. So, and that has to weigh upon their decisions and what they wrote and what they felt.
It was called Other Persons, but I have this other one actually specifically for Ohio, for Ohioans. But I have to
give it to us.
It's a poem. Now I want to let you guys know. Now, the 1619 Project is a collection of journals and collection of works. And I think these are all published by the New York Times, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, where is this? Oh, it's an Ohio poem. You guys keep talking. I'm going to find it.
Yeah, that was when she made that statement, the way she answered the question from Chris Wallace was what we were talking about earlier, that you're sticking to the facts of what you know. And you're not giving there's a lot of emotion built up in her, I know, and within that statement, but she couldn't express that emotion. She had to just stick to the facts.
People are so sensitive in this country about what happened.
Yeah.
What is it? 200. I'm trying to think of I'm trying to do math in my head. 250 years ago.
250 years ago.
This is a true statement too, by the way.
I don't have. I can totally understand that my views are not the same as people 250 years ago. So why should I be offended?
Right.
Why should I be offended? Go ahead.
No, yeah, and at the same time, it's okay to. What I feel like people are really missing is the fact that even if it was your great great grandfather, it's not you. But you do bear the responsibility. The burden is on you to take what you know now and move forward in a way that you are now acknowledging the privilege that you have. You're acknowledging you are afforded certain privileges because of the color of your skin. Okay, so it's like if a Black person is telling you of this, why do we have to? I don't really know how to even explain what I'm saying. If I'm telling you that you have a privilege, don't compare it to your personal circumstances, okay? Because you can be white and be poor and still have more privilege than a person who is middle class and Black.
Yeah.
And it's not so much it's not a class thing. It's literally a skin color thing. It's literally whether you are given the benefit of the doubt or not, whether you are actually receiving the freedoms that America offers or not. And that is based on your skin color.
Some good comments here. Harry says the issue with talking about racism in the United States is that people don't take the time to understand the definitions, but rather think you are saying individuals are racist.
Yeah.
They're personally offended.
That's a guilt factor there. That's guilt right there.
And Leanne does a good job of detailing some facts about history, redlining, GI Bills, segregation, Jim Crow, police force, et cetera, et cetera. Go ahead.
Because I'm saying to me, that's a guilt thing where you're saying, well, like Harry said, people look at it as an individual, like you're saying they're racist. Like, what will make you feel that way? If somebody told me that black people commit a lot of crimes and this and that and other, I don't look at it as like, that's not all black people. You may have some that commit crimes because the media focuses on that. That doesn't make me feel like I did it. Like I did anything wrong.
So are they calling you a criminal?
Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, right? I don't look at it like he spoke for the entire black community because
I don't think it's the same though.
No, I'm just giving you examples of how I don't place myself in the situation and saying, well, that's me.
I do. I'm sorry. When I hear any generalization of black people, I do feel a certain way about it, but it's very different than, you saying black people are criminals and saying white people are racist. It's totally different because historically black people are not criminals.
Right. No, but I'm saying I'm talking about narratives. I'm talking about narratives. About how people perceive
how diverse.
I'm saying that's how people perceive the information that they're hearing. Like you said, you do. I will defend when people generalize. I would defend it and speak truth to the fact and say that's not true what you're saying. So, but prior to that, I don't even place myself as in that category.
Okay,
is what I'm saying. So, for Nicole Hannah Jones to say America was founded on a racist foundation, and a person says white people aren't racist. Wait, we didn't say all white people.
You're making a jump there. So I'm not sure what Harry. I'm not sure what Harry was talking about. So I'm not sure.
I understand exactly what he said.
Explain what Harry means by the first four letters.
Oh, I missed that. Okay, there's.
I found a poem and it's for Ohio. Okay, it's called "We as People" and it's by Cornelius.
The first four letters is race.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So Cornelius, in the 1619 project, which was written by it's written by Nicole Hannah Jones. It's created by Nicole Hannah Jones. It's a collection of
several writers.
Yep. So the poem is called "We as People" and it's by Cornelius Eady. And you probably can find this online. Okay, sorry, my book is all tattered. In Ohio, black folk can walk free, but you still have the rights of a mule, a chicken, a bloodhound.
Wow.
Ever see a bloodhound? Cast a vote. Ever see a piglet? Try to write some law. We as people have to stop waiting while the mob sweep the Cincinnati streets of black skins, black thought, black laughter, black prayers, black homes, black children, black song, packing our bags with bruises, skinning breath with knuckles, the tar dipped lit and torch tossed. On the front porch of your consideration, some of us took that hint and flew. Exit, exile, exodus. Others wonder why Jesus let the cops chase their fancy unpunished. But we as people have to stop asking a flood to stop being a flood, expecting a hurricane to gross the manners. We've come to Philly to find out what happens when we stop running and we start talking amongst ourselves. What better selves do we knit? When you open the doors to a shelter after a bad storm has passed, ain't that air sweet? Even if the town is in splinters, ain't you happy that the storm tried and its you happy the storm tried its level best, but couldn't stop your heart? The end.
Yeah.
This book, y'all.
Wow.
I highly recommend this book because you're gonna learn a lot. You're gonna feel a lot of emotions.
Wow.
Okay.
I gotta dwell with that.
Yeah, I'm still reading it.
And the sad part is that the scholars who who approve historical content for books all disapproved of that book. That's what's so crazy. So then you research who are these people that give that authority to say what goes into history books. Look at their background. Look at their and they're the same ones who wrote to debunk to whoever, I can't think of the guy's name, but he was over the New York Times. Like he was in charge of allowing that to be published.
Yeah.
And these scholars, wrote a letter to him, demanding it not to be put out. What are you trying to hide? What are you trying to hide?
I think they found a time in history where they actually have the opportunity to rewrite history again, right? And so they're taking the opportunities to make sure that it can happen. I mean, to take out any controversial subjects in school to talk to kids. I mean, they use critical race theory to basically gut the curriculum of schools, like of history.
Yeah.
They have used this, even though it's not being taught in schools, they've used this as a way to stop teaching history, true history of America. Nicole Hannah-Jones was absolutely right. Our country is founded on racism. It's founded on slavery. And so, and it's so, honestly, it's so disgusting, really, when you get into it, when you see that in your inner city schools, you have all these Black children being taught in schools named after enslavers.
How does that make you feel? You know,
it feels so. It just
Joe makes a point here. America has a thing called the mob. Yeah, and not only that, we glorify it in movies like Goodfellas. How many mob movies?
Man, Scarface.
And
Godfather.
And those are popular movies.
Yeah.
Classic movies.
The Untouchables.
People like quote the movies. Okay, so we glorify white crime. And what do we say when there is blacks as criminals? Right? How do we depict that?
Different. It's a whole different perspective. Yeah, I mentioned The Godfather, Joe. Yeah, that's a classic, right? But
I didn't mean to cut you off, Bria.
So Harry says, "Come on, the lockdowns are over. People don't have to have time to read and learn." Oh yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. People are lazy, I'm not. When I say lazy, I mean everybody's lazy. That means the Black community involved as well. We do not teach each other like we're supposed to. We don't teach each other like we were taught when we were younger. I mean, everything that I learned as I was growing up, I taught my kids. I told them about things that I knew, I prepared their minds for the attack. If they were being attacked, how do you respond? And Bria was one of those that I know was always ready, like she was like a little firecracker, ready to just chew at somebody. But there's a time and place in how you do it. You have to be strategic in how you respond. And the thing about it, we're not teaching our young kids enough. They're to a certain point, young minority kids now, and when I say minority, I mean just in general, Asian, Hispanic, no matter regardless if you're a minority in our country, you're in an uproar and you learn after something happens. Like when George Floyd happened, people want to gravitate and start learning. What happened to the learning within our households before that? What happened to the dinner table conversations that we had as we were growing up? Those are not there. And so and I'm not saying they're not there totally. Let me take that back. A lot of them are not there. Yeah, we got John here. Let's go and throw him up right quick.
First of all, what's Belly? I don't know that movie.
Belly is a movie.
Oh yeah.
What is it?
That was with Nas, wasn't it?
I haven't seen it in a long time.
I haven't seen it. I'm sorry.
But I'm probably gonna lose my black card for this. I have not seen the movie in a long time, so I can't ever remember. But it was a good movie, and I know it's a good movie because BET, whenever you turn on the TV on BET in the middle of the night, BET was playing Belly or Waist Deep or something like that. So yeah.
Good morning, John.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, man?
This is much safer than me trying to type while I'm driving.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then trying to get my phone to take StreamYard, I had to go through the settings and allow microphone and camera, and I'm like looking for all that, and I'm like, oh my God.
I gotta say, we're seeing a whole different side of you, John.
About Hugh Jackson.
Okay.
Mostly about Hugh Jackson. Okay, Hugh Jackson won one game in 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That's a bad record. And that's what coaches are graded on. And there are coaches that get fired all the time for not having good records. There are coaches with better records than that get fired all the time. I mean, Brian Flores got fired, he was last year? He was 9-7? No,
he had a winning record.
Yeah, it was 9-7. So to look at, but that is the main litmus test of a coach is your record. Now, you can say he didn't have players. You could say the draft was bad. You could say all these other things. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with the head coach in the winning games.
Right. We know that.
Whether that's true, whether that's fair or not, is not really important. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have some other GM that gets hired and says, "Okay, I'm looking for a head coach. Who's out there?" Well, I've got this guy that had an 8-8 record. This guy had a 5-12 record, and this guy with a one win in 2 years. Well, let's go to the other guys. They won more. I mean, and also Hugh Jackson, where he is now, I very, very, very could easily see why he wanted to go to where he wanted to go. You have no idea if that wasn't choice. You can't assume that he would want to be, as opposed to being an offensive coordinator on the Lions or being a head coach of a historically black college, that could very well be a choice. He wants to set an example. And we don't know his own personal situation.
Okay,
John,
hold on.
Question, just
John,
real quick,
go
because
ahead.
I'm not going to be talking much through the whole conversation. I just want to make a few points before you guys get into the debate that I'm not going to be really a part of. But I will say, or I will ask, do you think he chose to coach at a college over the NFL?
I'm saying that we don't know. First, we don't know. For one, if he is now, for one, he probably wasn't offered a head coaching job for first and foremost, and which is not shocking. A lot of times, if you go 2 years with one game, you have to go down to be an assistant. You have to be an assistant on a winning team, like like the Rams or some, if you're an offensive coordinator on a team with a good quarterback, that's how Josh McDaniels has gotten 2 coaching jobs. All right, because he's been an assistant on a team that's won 7 Super Bowls.
How did he get
there? So the assistant.
What about him being paid to lose games?
Okay.
What about him being paid to lose games? I have one more question, and then you guys can.
No one. That has not been proven. No one. I mean, you can assume that no one has come out and said if a coach was being paid to lose games and he could prove that, he should take that proof to the NFL. The NFL should find out who actually paid him to lose games and ban him from ever working in the NFL again. And without that being proved, it's just an allegation. I mean, and that's obviously what you would say if you lost every game but one in 2 years. I could make the argument that he's lucky he got a second year. Look at the Raiders. The Raiders went through a coach every year for like 5 years in a row. I mean, that happens. I mean, there is if we went through.
Hey, John, slow down.
Okay.
The point you make is true. Coaches are the litmus test for coaches is their wins. We know that. That's not the argument. The argument is when these white coaches get fired, what happens next? They become an assistant somewhere. You use Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels is a prime example. He sucked as a head coach in Denver. But what did they do?
Yeah.
Bill Belichick brought him in.
And how long did it take? How long did it take for him to get a new job?
He didn't have to drop all the way down to like special teams coach and work his way back up. He went right to offensive coordinator.
That's the reason why is because he's created a relationship with Bill Belichick. And Bill Belichick can do whatever he wants.
That's the point we're making.
He can hire the people that he's comfortable with.
That's the point we're making. That's the point we're making is that that's the discriminating part in coaching. We've been talking about this. You're saying that Josh McDaniel that has forged a relationship with Bill Belichick, that personal relationship that has led for him to get a job, and Hugh Jackson, who has not, because he did not form a relationship, because obviously he didn't get a job when he got fired. That is not solely based on race. We don't know that. Hugh Jackson went back to the Cincinnati Bengals because of the relationship with Marvin Lewis, right?
Yes. Actually,
why haven't Marvin Lewis been a head coach again?
Because there's been other. Hold on. Do I get a chair?
You mean a playoff coach? He's been a playoff coach?
Ah, crap! I just missed my turn. Well, no. There's. See, this is where. But there are a myriad of reasons why coaches every year don't get jobs. All right, now the rule, like every single year the coach, you got to look at when right, like, so he went from, let me get the timeline straight on Hugh Jackson. He left the Browns and he went to the Bengals, correct?
He was there as an assistant. Yeah.
Yeah, so he got hired. He got hired as an assistant right after leaving the Browns, right?
But he was a lower tiered assistant. He wasn't like offensive coordinator. He had to work his way
hold
up.
on. Okay, so just I'm just trying. Like I said, I'm driving, so I don't know. I can't look this up. So he left and he got an assistant job, right? So what did the Bengals do in those years that he was an assistant? Did they win or did they lose?
They weren't a winning team, no.
You know, so when the head coaching jobs come up, so in that year, you got to look specifically in that year. You can't just sort of like, oh, it's a racism thing. It's you can't automatically say that. I'm not saying that isn't true, but I'm not saying you can't just say that without looking at all the specifics in the situation.
John, the thing is, John, this conversation is very familiar. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. This conversation has been had across all subjects, and I mean of every subject that anyone's ever talked about, and bring up race. What you're saying is what everyone says. We don't know.
No, but what I'm saying is, I know we don't. We're not looking at all the facts. We're just assuming that he didn't get rehired because he's black. I don't.
So why did North Turner get 3 coaching jobs in the NFL? Was he a good coach? Has he ever been?
North Turner?
Yeah,
I don't know. He was a good. At the end of the day, he was a good defensive coordinator. He was never a good head coach.
No, he was an offensive coach. North Turner's an offensive coach.
North Turner was an offensive. Yes, you're right. You're right. My bad. I can't remember. He was a Cowboys offensive coordinator.
Was Jay Gruden a good coach? Was Jay Gruden a good coach? Or has he only got a job because of his dad or his brother?
Probably, yeah. That's a relevant factor too.
Texans.
Well, that's what we're saying.
The Houston Texans were looking to hire a high school coach as their head coach.
The Texans,
a white guy.
But the thing is, at the end of the day, the people that are going to hire the people that. Well, I mean, listen. You have to look. You can't look. You cannot look at one situation and say, "Well, it's obviously racism."
We're not looking at one. We're looking at
dozens of examples.
Countless.
No, but the thing is, but I could go through. If I was sitting down in front of, I could go through hundreds of assistant coaches that made it to a head coach that never got another chance again. There's tons of them. All right, they happen all the time, and there's guys that form relationships that stay in the business that have Bill Belichick as their sponsor, basically, that get other opportunities. That's nepotism. That's the way of the world. That's what happens. I don't know how we legislate against it. How do we tell Bill Belichick?
Nepotism, but go on.
But how do you tell Bill Belichick he can't hire who he wants to hire?
We're not saying that. We're just saying how the system.
Time, guys.
The system. We're talking about how the system is created. The system is like it is. That's the only.
How do we fix it? But how do you fix it? What kind of rules could you put in place to fix it? Now,
more people
to enforce the Rooney Rule.
More people at the table.
Well, the Rooney Rule was turned into a joke. I mean, I think that's the best thing about the Brian Flores situation is that the Rooney Rule. Everybody knew that was going on. Everybody knew that was.
Did you hear that?
Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for coming on, John. We gotta move on to the next topic. But this was great. Right. We would love to have you again. Thank you. Bye. I'm sorry, guys. We gotta move on. We got
Harry Pez coming on. Harry looking to come on. Okay, so can we get a comment on Ted Cruz thing? Yeah, I'll comment. Ridiculous question. Completely ridiculous question for judiciary hearing.
Yeah. But we're gonna have Harry on, but Harry, you're not connected. So your devices are not connected, so I can't bring you on. But that was interesting. I'm glad John came on. I'm glad we were able to get, because it's such a more the conversation just has more substance when you can talk about it. So I really like that that he came on the show. But yeah,
I mean,
definitely want to
that's
talk
a
about
big
this
issue.
because
The
I saw
NFL
that.
thing and the NFL head coaching hiring things is a big issue. It is. There is. We'll visit that again, and maybe we should invite him to come on in advance.
Yeah, I think that I what John is saying is correct. But what I'm saying, what the argument is, we know what he's saying is what's happening. The thing about it is, like you said, how do you change it? We can't dismiss the fact that Hugh Jackson, who was known as a quarterbacks coach, was not even hired as a quarterbacks coach anywhere because he was disputing how he left the Browns. That's why he put a lawsuit out there already. It went through arbitration. That's why he hasn't been hired. It has nothing to.
Here's a good comment from Leanne. I think American babies are born into a racist society. Interesting.
Right.
Eye-raising to
That was
me.
my comment exactly when I
If
saw
they
it.
are not taught differently, when they will continue with the racist ideology, intention is the only way to change things. White people need to do better recognizing our privilege and to speak out more. Well said.
Wow.
Well said.
Well said, Leanne. I can't wait to have you on the show.
Yeah, that was
Seriously.
Yeah, we're gonna have Leanne on again. Leanne.
Because
that was good.
I'm getting.
so that's I don't know if you guys saw
My
the
mind
part.
is
I can
bad.
try to can you try to find that on I can try to find it real quick.
What's that?
Ted Cruz when he questions Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson.
let me see
Here
if I
we
can
go.
find that
We
for
have
you.
Gary Fries on.
Okay. Good morning, Harry. Good morning.
Hey,
Good
what's
to have
up?
you on, brother.
Y'all are tripping today. This morning. Y'all get heat. You got. I didn't know I was tuned into sports talk. How y'all doing?
You're doing great, man, doing great.
Hold on,
Great.
let
You
me,
wanted
let
to
me
talk
try to
about
mute.
the.
I gotta
Looking
mute
good.
one of these. Hold on. I got two conversations going because of the delay, and I can't figure out. I'm not used to StreamYard, so sorry.
Okay, no problem.
What's
So
your you have a show? You have a podcast?
yeah,
3 at 3 on LinkedIn. Whenever I get it scheduled, it's not every Thursday, but I appreciate it.
Okay.
Cool, awesome. Well, hey, listen, if you want to drop the link in our private chat and we'll put
Yeah,
it
we're gonna
in
help you out with
our
that.
comment section.
Actually, he could
Let's
add
talk
to the
about
comments.
racist babies.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
So what's your? You said you want to talk about CRT. So
I gotta find that
what's your
video.
take? What's your take on it, Harry?
Man, so I just came back from it's the nation's largest diversity and inclusion and workforce conference, right? So
Wow.
anything
We should talk more about that with you.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
anything with race, give me just perspective about me, right? So I'm a doctor in public health. I think everything is related to public health. So my bias is always going to push it back that way. But it's interesting, the commonality of all these conversations that you all are having about race, and I keep hearing it in all the voices. How come they can't understand? Right. And the challenge is people can't get past words. They can't get past words like white privilege. They can't get past words like racism, let alone understand things like systemic racism. And I think that's really the heart of, some of this conflict, especially when we start talking about, what are our kids learning today, right? What are our kids learning? Well, we're learning about racism. Well, wait, my kids aren't racist. And so that's my those are my points about some of this, is that we're not really having the conversations that we need to have because we can't get past words like white, black, racism, or whatever. So I'm a pause because I just jumped on and started rambling because I got excited because I changed my sweatshirt.
You're absolutely right. And when I'm on, like, if I'm in a conversation with certain people, I try to eliminate those certain words because those are the trigger words they're looking for in these type of conversations. They're looking for that word so they can say, see, you got to always bring race into the conversation. So you have to maneuver and be strategic in your conversation. I totally agree. On this show, we do talk about it because we're all thinking the same thing. So when you bring someone on to counter that, you have to be strategic in it. It is. I totally agree with you in those trigger words that people are looking for.
So Harry, real quick, do you think babies are born into a racist society right now in 2022?
I do think they're born into a racist society, but that's not the question that Ted Cruz asked.
No, it's not. I just
right. And he was that was straight ignorance the way he came out with that. So
that was straight politics. So one of the things, like before this conversation, you all were talking about people walking out of the platform. And
Yeah.
I mean, the thing to understand about career politicians, it's not about right or wrong, right? I mean, they will tell you that in public administration and things like that. And I'm not trying to say that this should have happened. Their job is to get reelected, hands down. You can see that with especially Lindsey Graham, because he's going to go on a cycle about, this is ridiculous. We should never do this versus how dare you call us all racist? I'm gonna talk to the base to get reelected.
So Harry, so what you're saying is that a lot of let's say it, a lot of GOP Republican politicians are using culture war things and are bringing up CRT. They're bringing up trans kids for votes.
Yes.
Okay.
And in any argument about why that, I mean, that is what it. I don't agree with it. But we have to realize that that's what we're doing, and then decide then what can you do about it? I don't have the answer for that. Don't ask me right now. But you're not going to be able to say, well, you can say it, but they're just going to do it. I mean, none of those hearings none of that stuff in those hearings were about, what are your qualifications about a judge? They were, what's my base want to hear? Here's my soundbite.
No, you're right.
So they're going to bring up child pornography. They're going to bring up whatever they can find.
Yeah, but I don't want to take us off of what we were talking, what y'all were getting ready to talk about. So I'm sorry.
I got the video. I'm having a hard time downloading
Racist babies.
videos. Yes, he actually brings out a whole chart with the book cover on it. And so basically, Ted Cruz straight up asks her, do you think babies are racist? And it's kind of just and the book is called Anti-Racist Baby.
Yep.
And I mean, I think that
that book is in his daughter's school. That same book.
The same book is in her.
The same book is being taught at his daughter's school. There's an anti-racist school, but yet he wants.
He didn't get it banned yet. But what were you saying, Bria?
Sorry.
People are getting frustrated about, what looks like Ted Cruz not understanding that babies are clearly not racist, but born into a racist society, right? We know that America has a racist foundation. We know that this is a fact. It can't be argued because it's a fact. It's history. So I feel like as people, we need to understand that it's all about politics. And Ted Cruz has common sense, just like the rest of us, just like all the other Republicans that try to make the same critical race theory argument. These are not, I honestly have to believe these are not stupid people. These are educated people. These are not people who lack knowledge. They understand that the people who watch them and listen to them, some of them are ignorant. Some of them don't have the same knowledge that they have. So they can tell their base anything. And so I feel like, we all got really mad at Ted Cruz and really frustrated with him but we know Ted Cruz knows the truth, just like all the other Republicans know the truth. And that's just, we can't get frustrated over this. We can't get frustrated over where we know he understands.
Yeah.
That's
the conscientious stupidity right there.
That's where my anger came from, though. Yeah. So it wasn't the fact that Ted Cruz was ignorant. It wasn't that Lindsey Graham was ignorant. It's that literally they are willing to promote some type of racism, and let this go. The things that they're talking about go beyond what is anti-racist. It goes way beyond systemic racism and white privilege. It goes to the heart of black versus white. Yeah. Right, I'm gonna get votes on black versus white, and that's why I got mad about it. Let alone having to watch her sit up there and
that's why
it was triggering.
I think at one point I cried watching her have to. In her eyes, I could see what we were thinking the same thing. This is such a dumb question. Are you kidding me right now? Seriously,
but isn't that typical?
But her answers were I was so proud of her. Because she knew what they were trying to do and she refused to let herself get trapped or caught up in it. She used her experience as a judge. She used it to guide her responses.
Yeah.
It was so incredible to watch. I was so inspired by it. I was just like, I have no excuse to blow up on the next person in the grocery store that makes me upset. And I'm in Belton, Missouri, you guys. So I go to a local Hy-Vee. It's a grocery store, and I always run into things like this. I've had run-ins with people in the same aisle with me, moms in the same aisle with me, and I always just have that cap on where I'm just like, I'm not dealing with no racism today. I'm not dealing with no racism today. Like that is literally what it's sad, but that is what I go out. I live in Belton, Missouri. It's growing in diversity, but it's really, really white.
Yeah.
So I have no excuse to get upset and pop off after watching her handle herself so beautifully in the middle of all of this just nonsense. It really did change the way that I view.
I mean, you're proud of her at the same time. In the inside, you're like, you're angry, and you're like proud of her at the same time, because that's what you will have. That's the position you have to take in order to advance, and that's going to be in every industry. I think Harry mentioned it earlier about every industry. You're going to face these same obstacles that we're talking about with the NFL. There's no room out there where there's no place out there where it doesn't happen. It's hard to find a place where it doesn't happen. I mean, you could be at the lowest point of a job, the lowest position possible, and you're still going to deal with some of these issues. And it's how do you handle yourself during those, when we were talking about keep the emotion, we have to keep your emotion out of it. We can't be like Brett Kavanaugh and crying on stage, because, people are questioning your character. We can't do that.
Look at the different reactions
they review it as weak.
Between those two.
Totally different. You had to. If she had did the same thing he did, cried on stage.
That's a good point.
Only time I saw her cry was when Cory Booker was applauding her and giving her flowers. That's when I saw her tear up. It was out of more so joy. What's that?
I don't think there was anything wrong with her crying though.
No, I said at that moment, Cory Booker, because he was congratulating her and telling her how much he admired her, that's when she teared up, and that was out of tears of joy. And I was happy to see. I was glad to see someone give her that.
Yeah.
But from like I said, if you come up there like Kavanaugh did, cry and come out with all this anger, a black person is not going to get that opportunity to advance with that type of performance that he gave. You have to stand strong and firm, because that's just the dynamics of these positions these positions of power. It's just the nature of the beast.
You have to be strong, right?
It's always been that way.
But
you have to hold your head up.
Proud of her.
But yeah, anything else, Harry?
I
see you thinking over there.
Well, we're talking about the 1619 project, and I've got opinions on all the right. So CRT, all this other stuff, banning books. And this is what I say, and I'll let y'all do your show. I'm saying everybody that's coming in, because we want to ban this book for XYZ reason, whether it's, anti-racist baby, let them do their thing. And the reason why I'm saying that is that if they set precedent that I can come in and challenge a book and say that it is, that's not the learning opportunity that I want my child to have, it's taking away, my parental rights, then we can literally, from that precedent, challenge the entire curriculum of that organization. Like, I think you need to take out anything that references Christopher Columbus. You need to take out anything that talks about how the West was won. All those little things. You need to take anything about World War II, because you really need to get into why we got into the war in the first place, how we were still discriminatory or whatever. So I'm like, let them do it. Let them
I agree with
yank out anti-racist baby
and
come with it.
I agree with you, because we had spoke about that a couple episodes back. We talked about that when the rule changes at some point, the demographics change and who's in leadership, and it's going to cause you to use that same rule to be able to enforce or take out or put in books of certain things, books, language, speech, content, whatever you want to say. The demographic is going to change within power. That's going to give you that opportunity to do that.
And I also want to add to that by saying, I've been saying this since the very beginning, our children, their education, the first educators that they have are their parents or guardians, whoever is raising them. We are their first educators. So from the very beginning, I've been saying, well, if they take the stuff out of the schools, that's not going to affect my kid, because I teach my daughter every day. We read books every day. Even my 1-year-old daughter, I'm reading to both of them every day, historical books about, I've got tons of books about Martin Luther King, Kamala Harris. We bought some books from like I said, I'm at Five Below. I'm always in the book section, and they have a ton of Black history books. There's a ton of Black history books. So I'm always teaching them every day, all the time. And it's not just, I haven't really gotten, deep into, the history of America with my 3-year-old daughter and my 1-year-old daughter, but I don't have any type of, they're going to know. They're going to know whether they take the books out, whether they keep the curriculum the same. My children are going to know the truth. And that starts with me knowing the truth, because I didn't learn the truth in school, you guys. I learned the truth when I became an adult. I learned the real history of our country as an adult. I'm still learning the real history of our country. So as parents, we really need to take on that burden. Let's stop just sending our kids to school and accepting them back home without teaching them anything. I know that we all have jobs. I know that we all have stresses in life, but the responsibility of their further education, the responsibility of that all falls on us. I don't know if I'm saying, if I'm writing this the correct way, but that's on us. So
the dinner table conversations that we've had. I mean,
that's what it is. That's how I learned. I didn't learn a lot of the growing up. I knew a lot about Black history from my parents, from my family. I know the history of America. Like I said, I learned a lot of that as an adult.
And I think that's the difference a lot of times also with, like, even these, like, the teachers or the parents are saying how their kids feel, bad or embarrassed or feel bad about what they're saying about CRT. If you have those conversations at the dinner table with your kids about what's real, about the history, the what's going on, what racism is really about, the kids shouldn't feel bad about what's being taught or with these conversations. Me and Darren had that conversation when we first started our show. I asked Darren, I said, how many times did you all talk about these current events that happen every day as you were growing up at the dinner table? He said we didn't. And those are things that I talked about with my parents at the dinner table. I talked about it with my daughter and my son at the dinner table. We would talk about what's currently going on, and we give our perspectives, and we talk about what's right, what's wrong. You can't wait till a kid gets grown or teenage years. Like now you have social media where you can say, don't look at that, or that topic isn't right. They're going to research it themselves. That's why right now, a lot of, like when here in Texas and in Colleyville, when they were trying to get rid of the principal there, and they were talking about he was teaching CRT, which he wasn't, the students was able to go research on their own and come back, and they stood in solidarity with the teacher, with the principal. They still got rid of him, but the students themselves said, don't get rid of this guy. He's good for the school. He's teaching us. So it's up to the parents, as you said, and those start at the dinner table. Those started those real tough conversations when these current events happen. When George Floyd died, did you shield that from your kids, or did you talk to them about what really happened? Like Black families did. We talked to our kids. I mean, I'm sure any elementary school kid had a conversation with their parents or grandparents about George Floyd without hiding facts. Can that be said about every household? I don't know.
I have
But
a question for Harry.
go ahead.
Sorry. I thought you were done.
I rambled on with that for a while. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I also rambled.
That's all right.
Harry, question for you. So do you think that this means, okay, here's my, okay, so I'm trying to word this right way. So in inner city schools, right? Are there going to, or schools where there are less white kids, or where it's more people of color, right? Those schools, do you think they're going to be cracking down as hard on CRT or controversial subjects in those schools as much as they are in the suburban schools?
No, but I'm gonna tell you why. Those parents don't have time to show up. So what I'm saying is that hopefully I can say this the right way. You're talking about having conversations at the dinner table and things like that. You literally do have to have enough time to be for or against this and show up. So I don't think that you're going to hear those messages from inner city schools about, like, we don't want you to learn about CRT. I think that the threat, it's not as big of a threat there, because you're not dealing, racism is kind of a given at that point. So you don't have to say, you don't really have to define it. I think, a challenge though, maybe in inner city schools, is to expand a little bit into what systemic racism really mean, how that relates to your health and outcomes and things like that, versus this person is a racist and they don't like you because of, you know, where you live, who you are, what you are. But no, I don't think that there's going to be much pushback about that. But to that point, you know, when I said let them do what they want to do in terms of banning these books, I would love to see people challenge in inner city school systems the curriculum that supports I'll say systemic inequities, right? You know, that for a lot of people that's easier to hear and understand, but I'd love to see that.
Yeah, that's another word that's being eliminated is equity. Racial equity is being eliminated because I live in Texas, and that was one of the words that came up. That why are we using those type of words? And they couldn't understand all the way down from healthcare to like what you're being taught in school. They don't understand. They could not get past that word because of the word racial was in it.
Well, equity in general, it's a tough word in business because I've been in rooms where and it's frustrated me to where it's like we had to define diversity and inclusion, but when we got to equity, I don't know, Harry, that might open us up for litigation, right? Because now you're talking about fairness, and now, you know, someone can then say, well, based off of your definition of equity, we weren't equitable. But I will tell you this, and this is so far off your programming, but there are not a lot, but there's a trend now in litigation against organization for their diversity policies because they're hiring what they call them, do quotes, diversity candidates. You should never call anybody a diverse candidate, but they are seeking women, people of color, someone other than the normal, and they're out loud about it, and that's really not legal.
Yeah, now it's reversing it.
Yeah, I mean that's a slippery slope to get on, but you really can't just say I'm hiring you because you are this.
Yeah. I just heard that this week. I mean, in a meeting this week, you know, that same context of, you know, the presenter was saying, let's seek out diverse candidates. You know, we want to get those, you know, send those names to our recruiter, and we want these diverse candidates, you know, but then at the same time, they said, but we don't want to stop hiring white candidates. You know, at the same statement. And they said that statement because of the fear of litigation. They don't want to be spotted out as saying, well, and mainly it is white males. And they're saying, we don't want to say we're not hiring these people anymore. And another woman came up and said, well, you know, we need to have it an equal board. Just have those that are qualified, regardless of their ethnicity, an equal playing field. You know, not picking and choosing because of the color of a person's skin. But
sorry.
Go ahead. No, but I mean, it's really what I just heard the same thing this week about that, how the hiring practices are. And I was like, man, this is going to be another division in corporate America where people now you got people that feel like they're being excluded because the aim is now to seek out diversity. You're saying I'm seeking out diversity. That means someone's going to be eliminated. But in reality, it's not eliminating anybody. You're just adding more to the pot, not eliminating someone from the pot. The ones that were in the pot already are now being equally mixed in with everyone else. That's how I view it. And I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. I was going to just say the argument with the problem with that I have with her argument. Who was that suggested that? Was someone at work?
What's that?
She said hire everyone based on their qualifications across the board. The problem historically, even people of color who are overqualified, highly qualified for positions because of stereotypes have been looked over, have been passed on for someone who's white. Right. So when you say like, let's just, you know, make the board equal and just hire based off of qualifications. I mean,
with that diversity, is what they're saying.
No,
bring in that diverse group.
I understand that. It's just like, there is a need to say, I feel there's a need to say, we are diversifying. We are hiring, you know, we're hiring people that aren't white. I don't know. But so what about affirmative action? Let's talk about that because honestly,
You
let me
know
say
what? You see what
my
time it is?
understanding of affirmative
You open up
action
you about to
is
open up a can of worms here on a long show because we're
I know. I'm
15
sorry. I
minutes
know we're
over.
15 minutes over, but I really want to ask a question.
Okay.
My understanding of affirmative action is obviously I'm still learning about things, just to be clear. But growing up, my understanding of affirmative action was checking a box, hiring Black people or hiring women, hiring people of color and hiring people who are women to diversify the workplace. Is that what affirmative action is? Is that what
Basically, it is.
you
Yeah.
call it? So then what is wrong with saying we're diversifying if we've been saying
At first, everybody
as a
was it was a checkbox. It was to say that we put this person of color in this position, and not saying that person was always qualified.
I mean, was it a, I mean,
It
I'm
was a
saying, is it
checkbox.
okay to say that? Was it okay when you were pitying people of color and women, but now we're empowering people of color and women? Is that the difference? Like,
The difference now is you're right. You are empowering people. You're putting people in a position to know that I can achieve this. And the fact that you are putting people that are highly qualified in positions. There's still that fear of a person of color that's highly qualified. If you think about it, when you look at these diverse conversations and these positions of power, huh?
I kind of want to. I wanted to hear what Harry had.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead,
No,
Harry.
you're talking about a couple different things. So with affirmative action, so the thing to remember about affirmative action, it's a compliance issue, right? So it's a legal issue. You have to have a certain amount of X, Y, Z here. It was designed to, at the time, to try to make things to equal the playing field, is not equal the playing field, provide more opportunities for minorities and to create more diverse organizations. To your point, though, what happened was, and I'm not trying to pick a fight, but for affirmative action, a lot of the people that credited that benefited from that were white women.
Yeah, white
right?
women.
And so then it became, well, look, we're very diverse. We have all these white women, right? Now it's a little bit different because it's not so much the compliance check the box, but it's this pressure, especially after 2020, for everyone to be, we need to diversify. And what people need to remember is that people aren't diverse, but organizations are diverse, right? So it's not that y'all are brown, so you're diverse. It's that the pool of candidates need to be diverse so that you can making sure that you are getting the best talent, diversity of thought, I like to say, in the room. Now the problem, and Leanne mentioned something about parents, like what about parents that really don't know? And I know that's about a different subject. The problem with what's going on right now is that organizations decided we have to do something or we're going to do something because the media is looking at us and they really don't know what to do. So they're posting things that from a legal standpoint, their strategy might have good intentions, but it's a little off. But the other thing I'm going to say about that is that there's this idea, you can either call it performative or woke washing. And if you haven't heard those two terms, it's about organizations that look like they're doing the right thing. We support, we stand with George Floyd, we do all these other things, putting more brown people on their web pages, talking about their employee resource groups and look what we did for Black History Month. Social media is a beast because it can make you think that your organization is something that you're not, right? A lot of hiring for people of color in professional positions, but they don't mean it at all. It's just for show. And then these people are ending up in jobs where they might be highly qualified, but they're kind of in a tokenized position, not just with managers who look at them like, oh, look, hey, it's Dr. Harry Petaway. Oh, you're our diversity hire. I'm like, come on now.
Right. I got a question for you. I got a question for you. Do you see more when they put executives in, bring in diverse executives and VPs? Do you see them more being Black people from foreign countries more so than African American?
I can't speak to that because I haven't, my position, I'm not a consultant to see that much.
Right.
What I have seen though, to your point, we're going to hire a Black candidate, them try really hard to find one that, hands down beats everybody else. They should have been doing that anyway.
Yeah.
I can't say I can't.
I don't see as many African American men in these positions as I see African men or women in these positions. Go ahead.
You'll
Or
see
Indian, another high group I see in these positions.
Yeah, so when we start talking about like optics, so I like
Mhm.
to say optics over impact, right? Because
Mhm.
it's just something that bugs me. You'll see a lot of, especially in the US, people claiming that they're diverse because they count their international employees, or they'll count their Asian employees that are working in tech, like from
Mhm.
India, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the reality of that is that they're still not diverse, because those are people that are still fitting stereotypes, right? You go into a
Right.
healthcare system, then why are all the brown people sweeping the floor?
Right.
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 But look how, but we've got, 20% minority employees, or, we've got this many
Yeah.
Asian employees, but they're all in tech, right?
Yeah.
Like get out of that. But I can't say that I've seen
Okay.
anything like that.
Okay.
Sorry, I jumped in your show.
No, we
Started
you're
talking.
welcome.
Love this
No,
I've been waiting for this
anytime.
conversation. I know I'm so engaged about the sports, but I like this. I
Yeah.
like to get into I like to hear what other people think
Yeah.
about this. Like what's because I'm not really a professional, I'm not a professional in this. I'm not a journalist. I just share my life experiences, but I have real thoughts that I have a hard time articulating sometimes about the subject. And I love to hear it come from someone who maybe can articulate it better or explain what I can't really explain, if that makes any sense.
I appreciate that.
Choppy articulation, but
The challenge. Oops, I cut you off. I didn't mean to overtalk you.
No, you're good.
The challenge is, when you had John on, and he was like, well, how do we fix it?
Yeah.
And that's where these conversations, it's like,
why do we have to tell you how to fix it?
well, but that's the thing. It always goes to, how do you fix it? I was in I tried to lead a book club. Let's talk about race, in a corporation based out of Tennessee, blah, blah, blah. And the idea of those things is to gain understanding. Like that's what it's supposed to be about. Let's gain understanding and be empathetic so we can have a conversation. And then here it comes. It's like, yeah. But how do we fix it?
Mhm.
And like my first thoughts, I'm like, if I knew, we wouldn't have the conversation. We wouldn't have to be here. So, okay, I'll be quiet for real now.
No.
Thanks for letting me come on the bottom line.
No, but the thing about it is that
Appreciate
we
it.
want to definitely have you back on again. And just, I want everybody to know that, everyone's welcome at any moment. Like you said, you requested a link. Hey, let me get a link to get on the show.
I was in my feelings on that one.
Yeah, but that's cool. That's cool. What does the Lean say? I agree. Also, people of color have historically not had the same opportunities since their birth. So lumping everyone in the same group assumes a level playing field, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's something for everyone. Anyone can request a link. We'll have special guests on, and we will definitely have you on again as a guest, where we're going to promote you as a guest and bring you on. But oh wow, that was my stomach. Wow, that was. But
do you want to address this? I know we've been on for okay. Can we just round off at 2:30? Okay, go.
So I made this comment about a woman leader in Russia could be worse. My point of that is that for all the assumptions that we make about why women can't be good leaders, they're moody, too much emotions and things like that, we can't then say the same speculations and assumptions that they will be better leaders because they're kinder,
right,
and that type of thing, especially when you deal with organizations like Russia or Ukraine, where they have a high level of nationalism towards like, I will destroy you because you might come over my border. That was all. It wasn't that a woman can't, that wasn't my point. I always try to check my own bias. And so that was, I'm like, Darren, you're being biased on that one.
I think I made that, I did make that assumption. I did. And I think the reason why was because when I think about all of the reasons why, that are said of why women can't run a country, it's not based on fact. It's based on stereotype of women. And it's really just based on women during their time of the month, if you think about it.
Well, they did that with Hillary, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, literally, that's where that comes from, because we're always looked at as, emotional or erratic, and literally that's all based off of, not fact, seems like based off of women during the time of the month. When I made the assumption of women are by nature this and that, and made the connection between other species with, it's true. These aren't stereotypes. These are This is science. Just want
Yeah.
to say that. So mine was that's why I made the assumption. But it was an assumption nonetheless. I
Yeah.
don't know what it would be like if
It
women
was more of a
followed our-
conversation than a thing in the chat. That's really
Yeah.
what it was. So I
Yeah.
appreciate
I
y'all letting me come
really
on.
loved that interaction. I like that you jumped in with that. I like that you were able to address biases because it's true.
Yeah.
You can't make an assumption either way.
Totally agree. Totally agree. We got to start wrapping this up,
Yes,
Bree.
we do. Sorry. We
gotta
had a
wrap
long
this
show
up.
today.
Yeah, we had a long one, but we'll be
Thank
back
you,
next
Harry.
week with this, and we want to thank Harry Pez for coming on. And Harry, put your link for your show in so we can see that. Oh, John wanted to let us know he voted for Hillary. Okay,
Oh,
okay, John, and yeah, put your link in there, and also if you can, I'm going to inbox my phone number to you so we can talk more, Harry.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and what's that?
I get
Oh, then please come back.
y'all are early.
Oh yeah, where are you located?
I'm in Michigan, but I'm not even gonna go into what
Okay.
I've got a flock of chickens and things, so I'm usually doing chicken chores and things
Oh,
like that when
wow. Okay.
y'all start out. So
Oh,
we'll talk again.
okay.
I'll jump back on.
Okay, sounds good.
Bye.
That was Harry Pez, but yeah, Bree, this was a long show, but it was great. It was great conversation, and so I guess we'll see everybody next week, huh?
Oh, we didn't even do a
Okay.
bottom line. My
Oh
bottom
yeah,
line, don't be
so
racist.
I'm gonna bring Harry back up one more time. Okay, we got to do this thing called the bottom line. Okay, Bree, what's your bottom line for today?
Don't be racist. Educate yourself.
And Harry, what's your bottom line for today?
Check your bias. We all have
Check
it.
your bias. And mine's the same one as always. Just take time to listen what people are saying before you make your opinion, voice your opinions. Listen, you can learn, and you can come to common ground. That's my bottom line for today. So we're going to be back next week on the bottom line, 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern time. And with that, we're out.